Hello and a warm welcome back to the WenDirkCast with me, Jimbo. As always, we're going to be discussing Let's MFL updates, transfers, developments, and so much more that has gone on over the last week or so. One important note before we kick off this episode: none of what we chat about is financial advice. Do your own scouting or hire a director of Metaverse Football. Making his second remote appearance.
Oh, well, that's true, actually. Does this count as a third appearance?
Yeah, but his third total appearance, because he's done one live in person when we did our first ever in person in Paris in episode 97. His first appearance was back in episode 92, which was season 6.
Oh, it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, so welcome back, Mr. WorkTheSpace. Jack, how you doing?
Hello, thank you for having me back. Love chatting MFL with you, so this could be fun.
Yeah, really looking forward to this. I tried to get you on a patch a couple of weeks ago, and then after the most recent episode with Bruce dropped, you pinged me a message and went, "Oh, you got any space over the next couple of weeks to come on?" I said, "Oh,
I wanted it.
Come on this week. Come on this week." And we got a date sorted out. It's actually, quite good really, because a couple of questions from Bruce, are very personal and relate to your history. So it's going to be really good timing, actually.
Yeah, there was a funny link there, really. Like I didn't know last week. We'd already had the conversation, I think, before the pod went out. So it worked out well.
Yeah. And for those watching, we've both got our MFL merch on. The Paris merch. They did do a merch for the Goal Rush event as well. I'm not sure if it has a different print on the back. I think it might say Goal Rush.
It has a bit of a stag do vibe with the print on the back. When we were in Paris walking around the streets at 2 a.m. into a McDonald's, I think people thought we were on a very weird stag do.
Yeah. That was or Florent walking out with his beanbag, or trying to anyway, from the Parc des Princes.
Can't imagine why they didn't let him take the beanbag home.
Yeah, exactly. They could probably afford another one. PSG can afford another beanbag. But yeah, we've got Jack with us. We're going to talk everything MFL, of course. We'll do our usual updates and weekly stuff before we get into sort of a bit about what's Jack been up to over the last 6 seasons, which is near enough 8-9 months now, and some other bits and pieces around MFL. So we are now officially kicked off season 12. We are coming up to what would be match day 5 this evening on the Sunday we're recording at. Jack, how's your first week been? Is there a particular highlight? And then give me a number out of 10 for how this opening week of season 12 has been for you.
It's a weird season for me. I'm one of the weirdos who doesn't like strikers, so I just run the 4-3 false 9, 4-3-3 false 9 on a lot of my teams. And I think it's dead. I had a lot of success with it last year. I think it's dead. I won the Elite Cup Tier 2, so like the third highest tournament last year, and I feel like I really had it dialed in, and I just can't score with it this year. And I'm looking at the stats going, well, it's the worst performing for win rate. It has a high draw rate. I can do the defending bit okay, but the goals are hard to come by, and unfortunately for me, I've kind of stacked 2 of my higher end teams around that. It's kind of funny. I think last time I was on the pod with you, I was sat with maybe a bronze team and like a load of spark and ice teams, whereas things have developed since then, everyone, as they do if MFL grips you enough. And so, yeah, I've got a gold team that was the bronze team that have climbed up over the last few seasons that won that cup. They're not having a good time. I'm not having a good time. Won our first game against Andy, but only because he got a sending off. So, and that it's not looking good. So, for every other team, it's kind of okay. But obviously, it's not looking good for the big guns of the agency.
So there's no really particular highlight of the week then? Or has there been?
Yeah, one of my bronze teams has gone unbeaten. So, if the silver teams relegate, maybe we'll get someone going the other way. But yeah, in terms of highlights of the week, I guess getting the first win of the gold season. But yeah, it was one of those hollow ones where you go, well, I probably wouldn't have won that without a red card. So should I be happy?
A win's a win, and you can only play a win against what's in front of you.
And I didn't pay the ref. I'm not Man City, allegedly. I'll put that in. We don't want to get sued.
Yeah, no. Docked episode points. Any progression so far this season?
Oh, mate. Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about something nice, shall we? I've got 80. Well, he was 85 rated. He's now 87 rated striker. So he's got a +2 overall already. It is carried by his shooting going up by a +2, but that doesn't matter.
Progression's progression.
Exactly. So I've got Stepan Pavlyuk, who's now 87 rated. He started at 76 rated 5 seasons ago. So that's like, looking pretty solid. +11, and he's only 11, and he's
2 or 3 plus.
So he's only what do you call it? He's got loads of seasons left, so he's doing great. And then I've got a man who we all occasionally see those players pop up on the marketplace, and you think, should I have a flutter? So I've got a guy, I've got to find his name now. Later edition, just for context here, I think last time I was on with you, my agency was like 50 players. It's now 500. So things really have
10x,
escalated.
baby. 10x,
So I've got Amro Saeed. So he's got a +1 already overall for the season, but he's got a couple of +2s and a couple of +1s. But he's a 21 years old, 77 rated centre mid. But I bought him this season, and he'd been in the dev centre for the previous 4 years.
Yeah.
And he'd gone from 62 rated to 76. And I was like, that's pretty good progression in the dev center, like a +14. And he's only 21. So you got put in the dev center at 16. Yeah. So we've taken a punt on him at $125. Ad is definitely a punt, but obviously at 21, he's got loads of years left ahead of him, even if he doesn't really develop. And it's looking good so far. So all my hopes are kind of pinned on him at the moment.
So, but, who cares about wins if you get progression?
Exactly.
Progression's the real winner here.
I look forward to 8 a.m. more than I look forward to 8 p.m. before the games. That's what I'm going to say. I don't know if that's a reflection of my season.
Yeah, wake up and you're like, And do you have a low serial ID club as well?
I have the lowest active club ID. So I know when training works and when it doesn't work on the days when it doesn't work.
Was it like number 3 or something? Or
number
7?
Number Tokyo 2. That is the gold team as well.
I was about to
Dio sold me that team when they were in bronze. I was like, this is now my project. Got to get Tokyo back at the divisions. But yeah, it's quite fun when people are like, is training work? And I'm like, my team's not gone up, and it's broken today or whatever.
Yeah.
Or alternatively, I am the person, though, who if I wake up early, I'm sat there refreshing for the entire hour that training tends to go through. I don't know if that makes me weird. I don't have that patience to just wait the hour and get the one long dopamine hit.
No, I think you go periodically throughout the allotted time for training. That's the way I do it. Yeah,
I have no shame to admit it. So I'd love to know from people who watch it, am I the only person who spams refresh like that? I mean, obviously, if you're American, probably not getting up at like 3 a.m. to spam refresh. That would be next level degeneracy. But for the
unless they've had a newborn and they're up all night and they're actually this can keep me up all night as well as the baby to keep me from going to sleep when I'm looking after the baby. I just look for progression. And then, and if you've got no progression, then unfortunately, you just got to stay awake with a crying baby all night. So is that why Tokyo 2 is called Tokyo 2?
Yes, because of the ID number 2.
Yeah, ooh. No, that is good.
I can't remember what they were called before. Yeah, Dio had them. I kept the stadium name the same. So the stadium name is... the team was called Edo Castle, which is the castle in Tokyo. And when I took over them, I renamed them, but I changed the stadium name to be named after the castle in Tokyo. So the name of the stadium is the old team name. Is a little
very nice
callback.
So, out of 10, how's your half a week in MFL?
Can I rate progression in the matches separately? Is that
yeah? We'll allow it.
Progression, I go like a solid 8 or 9.
Ooh,
I think when you spend over $100 on a player based on the fact they need to progress and they start progressing, you're a bit like, okay, I've not completely messed up. But as for the teams, my other teams are doing good. Like I have 7 teams and the lower end teams are doing fine. But the ones that have more on the line, shall we say, with them, it's not looking good, bruv. So watch this space.
It's not looking good.
If anyone has a striker, I'd hate to say this 4 game weeks in. If anyone has a striker in the drop they land that's a legendary and they need a move, I might be in the market for a striker because I don't have one.
With that sued into the season, and you're already requesting, trying to get those sort of contract.
If anyone has a lone striker available, contact me.
I'm sure someone will. Is this something? Could you have? Did you know this was going to happen? Did you do some testing before the matches started? You sort of went, "Oh, I'm a bit in trouble here."
I think
be in
I'm
trouble?
hideously stubborn. I'm the kind of person who thinks I can just make it work. So I saw people complaining on the MFL Discord. I was like, well, the defensive side, I feel like I've got kind of dialed in, but I need to start scoring goals. And then I think I got kind of 2 game weeks into the season and thought, this is a bit stubborn of me, really.
Yeah.
Might be a lesson in humility. And yeah, like I said, I don't really have any strikers. So I am. It's not like we were talking about this a bit before we went live. Like the 4-3-3 false 9 is like a conscious decision to have that. Where I think a lot of the other formations have a centre forward. You kind of use them because you have a centre forward, and like the 4-4-1-1. Or I'm trying to remember all the different variants now. There's a couple that have the single centre forward and a couple that have the 2, and I think they're almost conscious decisions to an extent if you're going down 2 centre forwards. Whereas, yeah, I was just a bit stubborn. I mean, I do have blokes who do have the striker, position, but it's one of those ones where you look at it and go, they might say they can play striker. They ain't playing striker with those attributes.
I mean, it's I can say it's a bit like when Norwich this Wednesday against Sheffield Wednesday, when we had our striker get subbed off, another one was injured, we decided to put up a centre back up front for 35 minutes.
You telling me I should try that? Is that where we're at?
Maybe I'm comparing your centre
they're talking, aren't they, the team at MFL about doing some training updates. Can we add in positional training? I'll get one of the centre backs in the in the coach's office learning to play the art of striker.
Yeah, because they always seem to get the most shooting progression out of any player.
Mate, I've got a guy he's a centre back. He's got +6 for shooting already this season. It's the only thing he's gone up in. He's got 22 shooting now, +6. He's 83 rated. He's a rare centre back. And I'm like, mate, what are we doing with shooting today?
Is he taking part in the right drills?
I'm thinking, shall we just remove all the footballs from the training ground? Everyone else can suffer, but at least then he won't shoot anymore.
Is there a language barrier that he can't sort of understand what the manager's telling him to go?
I'm trying to think. His name is very close to being La Ass. So in my head, I'm now referring to him as the Ass.
The Ass.
That makes me feel better.
But because he's French, I think it's hard coded they get good progression. Obviously, you just need to somehow.
I believe that conspiracy.
They just needs to sort of lean towards the defensive and physical attributes rather than.
I mean, my French goalkeeper's up to 94 rated. So will he hit that, ultimate tier? He's French, so I believe.
Yeah, I just saw him. Yeah, good old Dennis.
He's a late bloomer, is Dennis. He got like a +2 over like 5.5 seasons, and suddenly he's got a +3 in the last 2 and a bit. So
yeah,
maybe there's hope.
Ultimate incoming. Yeah, ultimate incoming. My week has been but actually, you know what? It's been pretty good. I'll start with the bad stuff first. Actually, though, my progression is honking. My progression.
Oh no! It's the reverse of me. Should we just merge agencies and we'll all be happy?
Yeah. You're stubborn with 4-3-3 false 9. I'm stubborn with 3-5-2-B. Maybe if we come together, we can not be stubborn with the particular formations. So progression for me is pretty poor. Although I can't really complain because I've not refreshed too many sort of, newly minted players into the agency. So there's me complaining about progression. I look at the average age of my players of 32 and a half, and I'm going, well, actually, Jimbo, theoretically speaking, they shouldn't be getting much progression. And, you'd be, you're right.
That's too logical, mate. You're the victim in this story.
No, I know. I've always got to play the victim, mate. However, obviously, people know that I'm now the manager of BFC Barcelona for the season. In my first training session of the season, get a centre-back go from 93 to 94.
There you go.
This manager's coming. And then the next day, Hakeem Zayn, snake striker, goes from a 94 to a 95.
Oh, I did see that, actually.
Yeah. I was like, hang on, we're 48 hours into the season, and I've got a 93 to 94. I've got a 94 to 95. All I'm saying is, manager. That's the one change.
That is the new manager bouncer. You come in, new training sessions, they're loving it.
New manager bouncer is either results related or it's progression related. It can never be both,
I don't know about that. You're second with Barca at the moment.
Oh, yeah. So I was going to say, this is where progression's been poor, but results have been pretty good. I was really, to get the draw at the start of the season, 2-0 down, then 2-0. Then I beat Keto Mercenary Co., which is obviously one of Ronan's teams, and Ronan's got like stacked plat sides. Like I think that was one of the lineup.
Filthy stacker is Ronan.
Yeah, well,
to be fair, he just doesn't have anywhere to put the players, does he? He's just like, there's too many of them.
Yeah, he usually just sort of like sells a club, then buys a new one in plat or something like that, and then just brings back in the new players, or essentially along those lines. But
I remember talking to him pre-season. He's like, "I've got another team that's promoted to Diamond, but I've already got my team now. What shall I do?" I'm like, "Mate, so this is not a problem I'm familiar with. Like, I think no one else in the game has this issue every season where it's just like, don't have room for all my teams."
I feel like maybe Ronan should just not delegate out because he can't. But technically you could, but just sort of actually transfer ownership to someone else, and then he takes in like the revenue from his players that come in. Because then he still has one in the top division. He can still have a bit more MFL, but Ronan will probably win one of the platinum divisions anyway. That's what he's like. One thing I'm very excited about, I now get to face Soul Iron Pigs. I get to have a matchup potentially against the greatest striker MFL has ever seen in Beckman. I'm playing Soul Iron Pigs in the cup. It may be my first.
Have you got a plan for dealing with Beckman?
Just hope he's not playing. Although, is it the app game? I can't say the S word, but it's like New S Star, and it's one of the the mobile app when you're playing as the player, and then one of the scenarios that happens is it says, "Oh, a shady man in a suit with a case offers to bribe you to lose the next match." And I just popped that to Bob and went, "This is going to be Beckman on Sunday evening, mate." when I come to his place and say, "Can he throw the game for a win?" So basically, if BFC Barcelona win, I can bribed.
Now you've said it out in the open. Now we all know.
It was rigged. So hopefully I don't get beaten 11-0 like he just stumped someone in Diamond. But
I didn't see that. That's grim.
Yeah, they were. It's Sao Paulo, Brian's team, and I think he's not put a competitive team in for Diamond.
There's a few of those this year around the top divisions again. There's a few more heists going on, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, a few more Diamond heists. Sort of getting that minimum and then playing around with it a bit. But overall, BFC Barcelona is second, the Wyverns are sixth, bit meh. The Wents and Worms in their first season, in their ninth. I expect them to go down, but if I got to win against bottom, so we're not going to be bottom. Trust the Process Norwich are first, which is wonderful. The WenDirk MFC team, they're currently third, but they have a game in hand, so they could be first, or I think
I wanted
second.
to get involved in that, but I didn't have any Dutch players. So
well, next season, Jack. You got any Dutch players or players called Dirk? Because quite a lot of Dirks are German. I did
search Dirk, and I was disappointed with the lack of options. I don't know why I was like, there must be someone called Dirk here.
Yeah. Although I have informally agreed. By this I mean Dio had a chat on Discord in the WenDirk Discord channel, that when Dirk Klassen gets the retirement symbol and he's in his final season, can he play one game for WenDirk MFC before the transfer window closes, right? So he can send him back? And I'm like, surely. And I've thought about this for months, and I keep trying to wait to see if WenDirk throw out the symbol, but he hasn't. Obviously, I don't want him to, because then he eventually retires. I know he will one day. But if we can get WenDirk playing, or Dirk Klassen playing for WenDirk MFC, that just sort of seals the deal. It ties the knot for his career that he's played for this prestigious side.
Dio loves that sentimentality. I know he's got a team of Wales named after two of his old Welsh players as well.
Has he? Wow. Oh, the Hobbs and Dobbs.
Yeah. Hobbs so I think you've got that in the bag.
And even like his Us Abe or Usa Abe team, which is I think where he's from, which has just been stacked since like Flint or Spark with unbelievable players. I think it's now in gold or silver, just with basically a diamond/plat quality team. I'm like, I feel for them, but that's what people do when they have that sentimental value to a club.
I've done that. I'm guilty of doing that with my teams, but they're like at the they've found their level now, sadly.
Yeah. Well, maybe the board needs their injection of the finances into the club.
No, don't give the board any ideas.
And then the last club that I'm managing this season is Scrubs Rabbitohs, an Australia-based team. Scrub was basically like, "Do you want to manage a Spark team?" I've got one slot left. Why not? And when looking at his team last year in Ice, it's a classic case of Scrub fills a team and just never touches it ever again for the rest of the season. So the last 11 games were just 3-0 losses. So from my understanding is as long as I don't have 11 3-0 losses in a row, that aren't forfeits, then I'm fine. Yeah, they are projected first, and they are currently second. I think joint.
I've not delved into delegation yet, but I'm on holiday next month in Japan for like the last week and a half of the season, and I'm trying to weigh up: do I try and schedule all the because I think just be in a situation where I can schedule the rest of the season out, or do I need to get some people roped in to help last minute just for the final 2 weeks?
Maybe you could schedule them all, and then maybe delegate someone who like wants to volunteer, but like look over it. No percentage or anything like that, or
just to make sure.
Just to make sure that there's like a red card or something along those lines where you just need to maybe
hard to plan with fitness like weeks, and I can do it for like 3 game weeks. That's my mental capacity at that point. It's like I've lost track of who's rotating with who, and what the fitness levels are going to be.
And you might be able to do advanced, tactics for the remaining games. But if you're on a cup run, that can then throw things out of balance as well.
And part of me's like, well, I can maybe do it on my phone, but I know I'll forget when I'm away. And also time zone differences just throw you off.
Yeah,
I'm very much in my MFL routine of like, the games happen at night. I can watch them all at 10 p.m. I'm just setting them all up for the next day kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you set your teams up straight away after like all your clubs have played that evening?
So sometimes I'll try and plan a little bit further ahead just because of strength of schedule, but after everyone's played, so like my last team finishes around 10 p.m, I then basically just review it all to make sure there's no suspensions or if I've messed up some injury stuff. But there's definitely one of the issues I have with MFL is I'm rubbish at rotating my teams. Like for the first few seasons I played, I was just like, I'm just going to bin off the cups. The cups don't matter. Yeah, and actually, I've started to realize I kind of like winning the cups because I feel like they're quite good for your own kind of self-esteem almost, where it's like I'm not useless at the game. Like if my teams are doing well in the cups, there must be something.
Yeah, and the extra MFL and the extra progression, although the progression is negligible, really, but it's better than nothing, isn't it? So
well, that's what I tell myself.
So overall, I'd give a. What did you give yours for the results? I'm just gonna reverse. I'm not gonna go 8 or 9 for results because I still think there's some stinkers in there. And because we've got today's games, if I lose BFC Barcelona today, it doesn't age well. This is like the one time of the season where we've got games still until the next round, till the pod comes out. Although actually the biggest moment of the week actually was the most recent game for BFC Barcelona. I was 4-0 up in like 25 minutes, and I was like, oh my word. Is this like a Unai Emery masterclass? Jimbo just comes into play and drops a 4-0 within the first 25 minutes. I was like, I'm cooking.
He's in. He's arrived.
I'm in. None of this new boy on the block.
I'll be honest. I was waiting for that story to go, and then they scored 4 goals. But it just sounds like it ended 4-0, and it was great. I thought
it ended 4-1. It ended 4-1. So it wasn't quite the dream. Yeah, big away day for the. Was it away day? Was it home? I can't remember now. But yeah, so what did you gave progression like an 8 or a 9, didn't you?
I think 8. I don't even know what I gave because a 2. I'm going to revise it to a 2 because I can't remember if I gave it a score or not. But having heard how gleeful you are about your results, can't compete with that.
Okay, so I'll go a 5 for progression because for my side it's a 0, but because I got the 2 guys in BFC Barcelona, I'm going to give that a 10. So average out of 5, and then for results, I'm just going to go for a 7.75. I'm going to go real,
That's solid.
Yeah.
I mean, it can all go wrong with the cup games and the double game weeks coming up. For first Sunday, it sounds like you're having more fun than me when it comes to the matches.
Yeah. Well, I just look forward to after this recording when, we might even still be talking. It might just, we might have dropped off and we'll be messaging afterwards. And I go, I lost all my games this evening, Jack, and I now want to revise my
Can we re-record that bit?
So let's move on to the old dev update. So probably the big one is the shareable images, what they put at the top there. Their new image generation tool has been deployed. Here's what it brings. Much faster generation. No more random errors. It's very sick. Fresh new designs across all visuals. Share a picture of full squad from your club page and share your lineup from the match page, which is great. And then Yax has put huge shout out to Lucas and Dobby for building the system. It unlocks many possibilities for the future, including thumbnails when sharing MFL links. Thumbnails, there we go. Transition to your world. Thumbnails.
I love thumbnails. Does that mean we're going to get AI versions of all the players doing like the shocked YouTube thumbnail faces?
Or like, transfer and they can have the in one kit, in the other kit, and the big arrow and big money, like splash of the week sort of thing as it happens. Have you had a little go at the generation of these images?
I like it. I actually kind of hope that some of it is like a bit of a hint for like, future updates to like the UI and stuff, which I'm sure we'll talk about shortly because it was like mentioned in the dev update. I kind of wish it like named like the trophy. So there's like one of the things where you can share your team and it has all the trophies, but it just kind of shows the icons.
Yeah.
So it's not always obvious what all the different trophies equate to. And also, I wish there was an option to toggle off trophies that were won by managers before me. Because I feel I feel a bit like a fraud. Who was it? Footballer famously like was suspended from a final. Was it John Terry? And then he wore a kit for like the trophy lift of the Champions League with Chelsea.
Yes, no, it was Terry.
That's how I feel
Terry.
turning up and like
Terry.
going, here's all the trophies this team won. It's like I only won one of them, but no one needs to know.
Yeah.
But like in general, the stuff looks great. I'm kind of hoping, like I said, that some of this is like maybe a hint for what we might see with the rest of the game. Like stuff like the match squad graphics, for the matches. I'd love something like that looks a bit more like that for like the tactics screen.
Yeah.
Instead of the shirts. I know the shirts look nice because the kits, obviously, I guess the long-term dream is that we'll have our beautiful 3D kits on the players as well.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll all tie in. But like just as a kind of a general sharing thing, I think it's great. And like they're super flexible. There's like so many more now.
Yeah.
And I remember checking them out when I first played the game and it's like they just took forever to load. It's like I don't have the patience for this.
Whereas now you get them pretty quickly and sometimes they have an error. And most people didn't realize if you just refreshed and did it again, it would work. But that doesn't become apparent, and you shouldn't have to expect a user to just refresh and try again for things to work if it pops up with an error. But yeah, I hope it's we can speak out in a bit. The maybe hinting at what some of the UI could potentially look like.
Like the new squad thing looks great, where you have like the player faces. Like it just looks like really really clean.
Yeah. Right, penalty shootout improvements. You can now see the dots of when they're scored or when they're missed or saved or not scored.
The amount of times where I lost track of what the score was in a penalty shootout. I'm shocked it took this long for this change. Like, I'm sure it's one of those things where from the outside looking in, it looks like the most simple thing ever, and actually it's like, this is a bloody nightmare. How do we get this UI to work? Yeah.
And you can actually jump back to those goals, those penalties as well by clicking on them, which is really neat. So you don't have to watch the full thing back to see which penalty was missed. You can just flick to the one that was missed, which is really great. So yeah, I think it's a big, it's sort of a big quality of life thing when it comes to penalty shootouts, because whenever you're watching them live, live TV, live football, you always have that record of who's scoring and who's not. A little bit about the engine, probably the smallest paragraph on the engine we've seen for about 7 weeks, really, it feels, in dev updates. A small patch has been deployed earlier this week to fix 2 issues. Forward staying far offside on throw-ins. I might have to go read that one. I haven't
seen that one.
I know, I was going to say, there is a link to it. I'm going to have to go watch it, because when you read that, it's spotted by Hoodwink. Thank you, Hoodwink. Up the Hoodwink. I have to go back and look at that.
It's the attacker's been watching Arsenal play in real life, being like, I'm going to stand on the goalie no matter what from every set piece.
And then the last one, the other one, is a penalty given outside the box, reported by XVIX. Well, one thing we don't know here is... actually, I was going to make a joke and say maybe the foul continued into the box, but actually, by looks of things, the foul was just outside the box anyway.
It was a bad one. I mean, United fans are loving fouls that go on into the box after the weekend of football.
Yeah, true. Your thoughts, is that a pen in your eyes?
What, the Man United one?
Yeah, the Man U one.
I think if it's not given for my team, I'm annoyed. I think it's one of those ones where the attacker knows what they're doing. Yeah. At the same time, as a defender, you can't really pull someone on the shoulder no matter what. And it's that whole thing, isn't it, with like the red card where it's like, did he actually attempt to play the ball? It's like, well, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's United, I'll say it's a terrible decision. Crystal Palace were robbed, and justice for Lacroix. But as someone who has lots of friends in FPL who were running Lacroix at centre-back, I'm very good that they've lost all those points for when he scored, because that really ruined my afternoon for half an hour before he was sent off.
And then they got one earlier Friday, fixed deployed to the match viewer to address some visualization issues. And then some office improvements, back office improvements. We'll skip over them. If you want to read them, there's 3 bullet points there. Continued work. I'll change the order here. Implementation of the XP energy systems for subs, training, and then work on the new interface. And I was actually credited, apparently, for the images, just for the generation of them.
Oh, I did see those of your teams. Did you actually provide them, or was it just your? Were you helping out there?
No, there was during the stream on Wednesday, Yax just sort of said, "Oh, just try the image generation, will you?" And then we loaded them all up, and then I tweeted about them as well. And then I think he's just used them. So,
okay.
That's how casual he is. He'll just say, "Oh, by the way, new images."
I do love that with MFL. Like, I think most game studios be like, we can't just put stuff out live. It might break it all. Like, there was a period, I think, during pre-season where the game was down for like 7 minutes, and I was like, because the game gone down for everyone, and Yax is there going, "Yeah, sorry about that." Like, we've hit a button, it's not worked.
Yeah, even on the penalty shootout piece, it was a stream on Monday for the pre-season cups, and Yax just went, "If you see a penalty shootout, can you just like bring up on the stream?" I was like, "Okay," and then you saw it. I was like, "Oh my god, there it is!"
I love the casualness where stuff gets dropped. Like it's just quite refreshing. I guess it's that the difference between like a dev team of 50 people and like a dev team of like 5 people, of which like even fewer actually work actively like on the deployment stuff.
And
where it can be like, we're just going to flick the switch, and if it works, great.
Yeah, and Yax is a guy who probably signs off most things for development. So if he's the one pushing the button, then he's happy that it's good to go and ready. But obviously the training they mentioned a bit last week, and then sort of in that research phase about potentially new training avenues. But the work on the interface, and you sort of alluded to earlier that hopefully some of the image generation might be hints at some of the new UI that we know is eventually coming.
I've been waiting for this for ages. Like, obviously, when we were in Paris, there was the video shown, and it was shown to the community. Like, was it last July? I think it was a long time ago.
Yeah,
and that kind of showed like some teasers of like a new player profile screen and stuff. And obviously, we've had lots of updates coming to the game. Like, I'll be honest, the biggest change for the UI recently was when the font changed.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know if I like this or not, but actually, it's grown on me quite a lot.
I wasn't sure if I actually if it had changed. I thought, well, I've seen this font for 2.5 years now. Has this changed? Or, is the font just different in size and I've just noticed it now? Is this a different font? And then it was the organic angle font. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes with that. Like, obviously, we know they've been doing a lot of pipeline stuff and trying to automate more. I'm kind of hoping that we'll just get a load of stuff all arrive at once of the UI, but there's just like a few screens where it's like, oh, these could be like better. And it's not really a dig at how they are. It's just a case of like, with this game, like there's been so many other things to work on. It's like the UI has largely been, it works, it's serviceable, it looks fine.
Yeah.
Obviously, since we had like the new logo put in and like a little bit of a refresh, like stuff like the HQ page hasn't changed too radically. The player profile screen, like I love the club screens now where like you have the kits on the right and stuff. And there's obviously, like, they've been working on this for months, so hopefully we're going to see some pretty cool stuff when it does arrive.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one of your suggestions in the Discord relating to that club page or HQ where you'd love to be able to select a couple of trophies that you've won and be able to showcase them on your profile.
Yeah,
right?
I'd love that for like the club page, right, where you can pin like trophies, but also for your own HQ. Because maybe I appreciate this isn't an issue for everyone, but I have like far too many players, and because of the way in which trophies are distributed, it's like, yes, I won 3 cups this season, and then it's like, but no one's going to notice this because there's like 6 golden boots and like some best goalie awards. Which, no disrespect to my Usaini, who was top goal scorer in Spark League Division 99, but I don't care about that achievement, mate. Like, that doesn't need to be front and center on my HQ.
Well, he might. We've got to respect the player. Respect the player. Yeah, respect the player there. I think that would be really cool. It reminds me a little bit of, say, like a Steam profile when you can showcase particular awards or games or screenshots. My Wentson Wyverns. They won the league in season 0.1, the very first season MFL, and that trophy has engraving saying Wentson Wyvern, Iron League season 0.1, and that's such one of those cool trophy collectibles.
I always wish when you click on the trophy and it brings up the full screen image.
Yeah,
if maybe they could go back and do this with the image generation stuff they've got, where you could have like the trophy, but then have like the final. The scoreline of the final, who scored, and it pops up. Like, because it's obviously the trophy looks lovely on its own, but like the context of, what was the final match kind of thing, or something like that. That'd be cool. I did win a cup final 5-0 last season, so.
Any red cards?
No. It's a team that's won, I think, 3 3 cups in 4 seasons they've existed.
Just pure cup merchants.
No. They've got promoted twice as well.
Oh.
There is a team based around pace. And I play a 3-5-2.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we want to have this debate now because I don't play the 3-5-2B. I'm a purist. We play the regular 3-5-2.
No, the B is for best. That's literally what it stands for.
No.
Literally,
I love a 3-5-2, but it's the 3-5-2 that you don't love. I feel like, we're not the same. That meme where it's like, you and me, we are not the same.
I don't hate it. I just don't own centre mids. So therefore, I have a lot of CDMs and cams, so it just works for me better.
That's fair. I do. Is it a case, everyone? Like the great centre mid shortage of my agency is like an ongoing issue.
I think it is in the upper divisions. I think it's or maybe across the whole pyramid. But I know, just say from like the ballers down when sorting out our teams, there's like, anyone got a centre mid? We're like, no, they're all gone. So there does seem to be a centre mid shortage. Maybe of D, because maybe
that's a commentary on modern football.
Yeah, you don't get many out and out centre mids these days, unless you're Kenny McLean.
He's a defender, mate. Now, isn't he? Fullback.
The quarterback. We call him the quarterback. Anything else on the dev updates, Jack?
Overall, pretty happy with it. I'm glad they're not touching the engine after it started. Like, I see people complaining about the engine, and I'm kind of that mindset, and I've always been of the mindset that like bug fix is fine, but there was a few seasons ago where they changed the engine like 3 or 4 days before the season started, and it felt rough. Whereas now there seems to be this pretty consistent attitude of the engine that we have like a week before the season is the engine you guys are playing, and
usually
deal with it.
The Friday before matches start is when they lock it in, basically.
Yeah. Because there has been a few times where I think there was very late changes, and I'm like, I've just planned everything and it's all gone wrong.
And even if a minor bug is fixed, sort of like post that lock-in, people still sort of go, well, actually,
I enjoy the conspiracies.
Put the tinfoil hats on. Could this have had a knock-on impact on something which hasn't been considered or thought about?
I like the conspiracy of like the shadow patches. 6 game weeks, and they definitely did something to the engine.
Yeah. The big shadow patch happens mid-season where
I've
suddenly
game
your team
week
becomes awful.
To keep an eye open.
Is that like sort of like the 69th minute goal in FIFA where it'd always be, or along those lines? Right, let's hit the Diamond League quick. Let's just round up on the Diamond League where we're at so far. Soul Iron Pigs, Bob's Diamond team obviously didn't have a great season last year with the engine, but seems to be smashing it so far. 4 wins out of 4. Probably one of the shocks so far is Meta Mercenaries, not in the top 3 in the opening 4 games. They did have a pretty big upset, which was when Hamburg Harmony beat them 1-0.
My goalie was in goal for that game.
He is. Yeah, 9.5. Yeah, I mean, 2 shots on target. They score in the 3rd minute, and it's got sort of real life football.
That's what got the goalie the +1 as well, which I thought was very satisfying. Actually,
I think we need more of them. If a player achieves, doesn't feel like we get enough of those progression. Even if it's not just for goalkeeper, it's always going to be a +1 overall. But just a back 4 and they all get 9s. Even though I've probably never seen that a back 4 all get 9s unless they've all scored somehow, and they get all like a +1 or in physical or defending, and you go, do you know what, they've deserved it. That feels like a rightful piece of progression there.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw this game because I do talk with Roning a bit. I was a bit like, do I message him and apologise? Maybe he won't notice it was my keeper in goal.
Until you get the message.
Yeah, let's be honest. If this result happens to anyone, you're fuming, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah. If that happens to some other particular Diamond managers, they are absolutely losing their mind. But I think, Ronan probably dealt with it pretty well. And he knows that it's one of those freak results where any other day, if you look at the percentages, it's probably like the 1% outcome or 2% out. Maybe not that extreme, but 4 or 5% outcome.
50% when it happens to me.
Yeah. So, Yoga Benito, London, newly promoted team in second. Le Fure Espanola, Kev doing a a sterling job currently in his first opening 4 games. Has played Sao Paulo, which seems to be sort of the given 3-pointer at this stage in the season, although Jurgen Benitez did only win 2-1 against them. So I think that most people might pick up 3 points against them. They've lost 4-0, lost 3-0, lost 2-1, then lost 11-0. Stat padding is Bob's Soul Iron picks. And then the current
Beckman's top goal scorer because of that one game, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's currently got 10 goals, compared to Kovac's 5. So yeah, he's going after that golden boot for his what will be his penultimate season in MFL. Now he's got one more after this, which is sad for Bob, but an absolute celebratory moment for the rest of the Diamond division. So then our bottom 3 is Sao Paulo, which will probably get relegated, MFC Roma, Amsterdam Lions, and then Tango, who aren't, the Crystal Palace of Diamond and aren't currently sat 6th or 7th. They're actually in 9th. But knowing Big Will, he'll escape relegation playoff, even though it's negligible at this point in the season because we're so early on, and he'll go win the Titans Cup as well. That's sort of like how these things work. So you have a player, your goalkeeper, on loan at Hamburg Harmony. Do you have any other players loaned out in Diamond? Do you have any vested interest in any other teams?
No, well, I don't. It's weird. So Raul was kind of tied in with BFC for a few seasons, but obviously with how the unfortunate kind of fallout of last season, I had some Diamond offers and had to go with him. It's weird. For a long time, I had a lot of players in that higher level, but because I've kind of slowly built up all my teams and got them promoted, there's this trickle down effect where they're all kind of useful for me now, which is it's a bit of a shame because I don't keep an eye on the Plat divisions and the Diamond divisions like I once did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess it's a good problem to have.
And maybe this season is when what was your goalkeeper's name again?
Oh, Raoult.
Or is it not just, well, I assume we pronounce
I don't. It's T. French, isn't it?
But then if you don't pronounce a T, then it sounds like Raul, which is then you just think of this the Spanish Raul.
I'll be honest, I miss his old picture before he was a photo. He used to be great. He had a great grey tash, which I kind of, I still reminisce about.
Right, swiftly moving on to this week's Splash of the Week, which is a player by the name of Jens Lind. Lind.
I've not seen this.
No, a 90 rated left mid, right mid, centre mid.
Oh, it's a good combo.
Yeah, lovely combo. 25 years old.
But is he quick? That's always my...
What do you define as quick?
I'd say for a centre mid in the 70s is desirable.
Okay, so his primary is left mid, secondary is right mid, tertiary position centre mid. I'll tell you how much he's bought for first, Jack, and then we'll go through his stats. He was purchased by Sturgeonator from you for $580. So he's 90 overall. He's got 82 pace.
Oh, we'll clap that in.
89 shooting, 92 passing, 90 dribbling, 84 defense, and 84 physical. He's got a +1 this season. He was minted at 19 as an 85 rated player, and now he's 25 years old as a 90 rated player.
Oh, you're chilling, aren't you, there?
Yeah, and I think it's a really good buy from Sturgeon. I know that he plays the 4-4-2 religiously, so he's probably going to have quite a nice season this year if you go by MFL coach formation meta graph. And because he's got left mid, right mid, centre mid, he is the ideal player to have in a 4-4-2 because you can play him bloody anywhere, basically, in that middle row.
It's the same with full-backs, right? If you get a left back and right back, you're it's cloud nine.
Yeah.
So that centre mid combo is so good.
It's a dream position to be in. He's 6'2" as well, so he's got a bit of height to him.
Do you believe that height makes that bigger a difference?
Not that big a difference, but I'd rather be on the taller end of I'd rather have my players on the taller end of the spectrum of the height rather than the lower. Because then if a player loses a header, from a corner in the 90th minute, I'm not complaining it's a skill issue. I'm complaining it's a height issue. But I'd rather be on the good side of that coin flip. But you were, we should get our tinfoil hats really. Are you a height conspiracy theorist?
I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not. Maybe I should be. I don't feel like I pay enough attention to it. I kind of just go, if they've got good physical, they're fine.
Yeah. So you're fine with, did you play short centre backs in your 3-back? Did you ever feel
you
at
know
risk
what?
there?
I couldn't even tell you. That's how much attention I paid to it. Does that make me a bad manager? Oh, I don't know. Answers on a postcard. I'm never going to go check. You've made me paranoid now.
But right, this is the trait that I have. When a cross comes in or corner comes in and someone scores, do you immediately click their height and then click your centre back's height and go, "Oh no, I don't believe you should have won that"? No, not realistic.
I don't. So I think the reason I don't believe in it is because my gold team's centre forward, which is Wally Saul, who has a whole funny story. He's 5'9", but because of the way MFL works, he's always the man stood in the middle. He scored like 5 corners last season, and he's 5'9". So I'm like, you know what? Is this just because he's got 99 pace, so he just outruns the centre back to where he needs to be?
Yeah. Or he
Like,
just runs so quick and then jumps and just has this unbelievable like vertical. He was a gymnast back in the day.
I'm suddenly thinking he's got 63 physical and he's 5 foot. No, I'm suddenly thinking, well, now I know. If you check the height all the time, you'd be raging every time he scored one of those.
Yeah, against my 6'6", centre back pairing, and he's somehow leaped from what looks to be a standing jump as well. What's he done? Like grabbed on the shoulder, or had done a Kula Mawani and pushed my centre back in the back, and I'm there claiming.
He's the expert at the dark arts in the penalty area.
Yeah, he just does one hand, and it's not fully extended arm. It's just a little bit of a jump, and then the centre back's flailing. But I think it's a really smart buy from Sturge, and
he looks great. I mean, there is that thing, isn't there, where overall helps a little bit with like those duels as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could be the compensator. But yeah, the ends looks quality. I'm just looking at him now.
Yeah, but speaking of sort of like, overalls and, what impact they have in some senses. I can't remember which team it is now. I think it's the Ramble Amigos in Platinum 1, which is the one that I'm in. I think it's this team. They have an 82 rated centre mid in Platinum, but it's a left wing back who has centre mid as his secondary. So it's a 92 rated wing back. His secondary is centre mid. So he drops by 10 overall. But it's literally because his shooting stat is so low. But actually, he's got 98 pace. He's got 88 passing. He's then got 85 dribbling, 97 defense, and 86 physical. But because he's got 43 shooting, it just brings down his...
I have a centre mid a bit like that, who's a CDM who I can play at centre mid.
Yeah. I mean, he's currently rocking a 7. We're only 3 games into Platinum, bearing in mind, but he's played 3 games, in Platinum so far, but he's rocking a 7.4. He's not had any contributions or cards yet. But I think that's probably one of those cases where if it's just one stat that lets them down and you're not utilizing them to be a particular player in your squad, then you can have those guys clearly do work because this team's top of plat as well. So those players do work. If that's a lone centre mid, you're probably, and you're looking for him to score, maybe not having sub 50 shooting on a Platinum centre mid is not the best idea. But if you've got him defensively minded, because of his left wing back stats, he's
I'll be honest, I'm like that with like a few of my lower end teams. I really prioritize pace, and pace does not feed into like left mid and right mid or centre mid overalls. Which I always found weird for as long as I've played the game. But then defense factors in really heavily. But like I have a few teams that run the 3-5-2 I mentioned earlier. And on those teams, I'll have like a left mid and right mid who will have like 90 pace, but then their defending might be like 70 or 60. Yeah. So their overall is really low. But actually, I think they perform as well as a player that maybe would have that defending but not the pace.
Yeah.
That's my conspiracy. I think pace is very, very important in game.
Oh, I think it is as well. It's it's a crazy.
I mean, one of my teams is called. I have 2 teams called the Runners. Like they're called Runners, and spoilers, like they are teams that just prioritize pace, and it does work very, very well.
Yeah, that's probably one of my concerns. I think other people expressed a concern with this training piece. That if we can sort of have different training sessions, obviously it's currently in a research phase. That if you could prioritize pace for left mid, right mid, centre mid, you could have these crazy cards that actually doesn't impact their overall at all. They could be almost like sleeper cards when it comes to
I kind of feel like in a weird way, pace and physical aren't things that are trained in the same way as like more technical aspects. I guess with physical, if you think of it as strength training, I feel like pace is a bit more genetic.
Yeah.
So like in terms of the impact that a training could have on pace, I think it should be lesser than like what you get on, say, training a player to shoot.
I want my 34-year-old to get +5 and pace this season. It's just
It'd be cool as well if, as a player, maybe if a player's younger, you can have a bit more of an impact on their physical and pace. But actually, if once a player hits 23, 24, they're not really going to bulk up suddenly in the same way, unless they're Leon Goretzka.
There's a few players that bulk up. Usually, if they get a big injury, then they bulk up afterwards and they come out and you're like, holy moly, he's now.
Well, if we added injuries to game, let's do that. We'll have rehab as a training option, and they can just come back massive strength.
Yeah, I think you get the small goalkeepers, and they've spent about 3-4 seasons, and they've bulked up. Can we see their player cards and their images just slowly get more swollen? Their traps get bigger, and their shoulders enlarge over 3 or 4
Actually, the
seasons.
shirt doesn't get bigger; it just starts to rip, bursting out of it, Hulk style.
Speaking of just player visuals, I saw one on stream earlier in the week where it looks like he's got sort of a schnud round his
oh,
neck.
Really?
But sort of in the design of a piece of wear from the Dune movies. Very desert, khaki style. He's just come back from. I can't think of any.
I want players to get headbands. I want the Gucci headband on players.
You want to play to grab.
Maybe the branding could change as they go up the league. If they sign for a diamond team, they get a more high end headband on.
They're starting with just a torn rag. And then it's your Gucci, your Supreme. They're going up the divisions. They're getting paid a bit more as they get a bigger percentage.
I now want to go for all my players and look for snoods. So
yeah, there's one guy who had an Aston Villa kit on at one point. I think it's in Sturge's team or his agency. And I was like, I respect you, Sturge, for not owning up to the fact that you've got an Aston Villa kit, because if you admit that, then I think they basically regen it and they get the kit and they sort it out. But if you've got a little Villa kit on, and you're a Villa fan, you'd keep it, wouldn't you? You'd keep it.
You're just on the down low, aren't you?
Yeah. So before we move on to a bit more about yourself and everything related to MFL, are you a sort of a marketplace splasher? A degen packer?
Okay, I'm perhaps the worst kind, because I'm the kind of person who goes with the drop happens. Get my rare pack, and I think
degen.
Maybe just get another one. Maybe just get. I could get a player that's sensible, but I like the thrill. Of opening a pack. I think I'm single-handedly keeping the reward market for legendaries alive at the end of every season.
You're like the opposite of Sia's song, "Love Cheap Thrills," whatever it is. You're you love expensive thrills, and you love buying those rare packs for the thrill.
I could be sensible, and occasionally it works out. Although I hit a massive reward this season, but it was from my own pack, which didn't hit the same. It didn't feel like I'd made a conscious decision to get that pack.
Have you ever had a? Have you packed Legos before from rare packs?
Raul, the 94 rated goalie, I bought in a pack. I got him from a pack that I bought on the marketplace. And that was just he was 90 rated goalkeeper, 23 years old, and that was just a drop pack.
Yeah.
So you hit the legendary, and then the other player in that pack is now a 90 rated centre mid.
Oh wow.
So I feel very, very bad for the person who sold me that pack, because that must be one of the worst value transactions probably in MFL history.
I think there's the other one I can think of. That's probably the worst. But there's one other person who sold a rare pack or sold a kickoff pack, and there was a Lego upgrade to a 90 in it or something.
I think I remember that. I think it was someone on. It was a limited pack that it became a Lego.
I feel like it was Trust that bought it.
It was Trust
that bought it, and then you're just thinking, oh my word, the chances of I think even Zutek got a Lego upgrade in one of his packs on the last stream. It's a 0.01%, and it wasn't the greatest player that came out. I think it was 27 or 28 years old. But to hit those percentages is unreal. And then to have that sort of almost the age pops up and you go, oh no, you feel so disappointed. But it's such a great upgrade.
Well, when I got Rult, the goalie, I saw the goalie pop up, and it was back when they had the cartoon face, so he had his gloves in.
You see the gloves,
and you're thinking, what? I've hit an upgrade. I should be really happy, but goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But it's funny how it works out.
And back when the ages weren't displayed in the front of the card as well, so you have to press the
The
button.
nervous roll over.
Yeah. Whereas now you just get full disappointment straight from the
I try and work out the player's age based on the real photo, but I don't think there's any link there. I see a guy he looks old. He's got neck tattoos. He's he's 16.
Yeah. He's they don't quite relate. Right. So Jack, last time we had you on, your first appearance was episode 92 back in June of 2025. It was season 6. I think you joined in season 5, and I vaguely remember you coming on after a season of playing, maybe, so you had a bit more familiarity with the game.
Yeah, so I joined halfway through season 4. It was like the end of March, actually, so it's going to be like a year this month. But then I was one of those unfortunate people who joined and was like, well, I now have to just take part in the Redemption Cup. So I had like 4 weeks of just like revising and learning all the mechanics of the game, which actually was quite a nice way of doing it, because I feel like if you're a new player and you kind of join during pre-season, there's like too much to learn, and then it becomes a case of your first season in the divisions is actually just more of a learning experience and figuring out stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's changed a little bit since then.
So yeah, and you said earlier about how when you first, when you came on the pod, you had the bronze and a bunch of other, say, like Sparta clubs. How has your agency developed since then to now? So you've had quite a few promotions and you've had 10x the amount of players. What triggered those changes?
Just a general enjoyment of the game, to be honest.
Yeah,
so like I picked up, I don't know if I had the Tokyo team when I appeared last time. I don't think I would have done. But
don't think
Tokyo was a team that I got off DO, and then I had a few other teams. I've always had this Asian theme with my agency. And I think it was like season 7 or 8 when there was teams in like China, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia. They all got added. Yeah. I'm still waiting for players of those nations to be added. I would love for that to come at some. I know there was all the drama when players were added during the Euros and the names weren't quite right, but like
I think it was like female variants of sort of like
getting some players from these countries was good. But I basically went all out and bought a load of teams from those different places. So I picked up a place from a team in Beijing, for example, started them down in Spark. I picked up a couple of teams in Hong Kong, teams in Singapore, and then it's kind of all spiraled out of control. So like I now have a gold team, 2 silver teams, a bronze, an iron, a stone, and a spark team. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a spread across, which is kind of nice. And I think for a few seasons, they were kind of all on this expected upwards trajectory, where every season you go in thinking, if I don't get promoted, I've kind of failed. But I'm now at a point where I think they've all started to kind of find their level a little bit. And because I started playing shortly, it would have been right before like the age, like retirement age change. So I think some of my earlier players are like pre-retirement and some of them are post. It's like we're now hitting that point where I'm starting to see, like most people, I think kind of my agency kind of level off a little bit rather than it being this constant growth of player overalls and development. But I'm really enjoying it because I think I'm at a level now where it's like I can't really go in and expect to win all the time. So like last season, I got into the gold playoffs. I won the cup with my Tokyo team, got into the gold playoffs. Ironically, I rotated on the last day of the season, thinking that I had no chance of promotion. And as it turned out, I would have won the league if I'd won 3-0. And I just didn't rotate. And because I'd played in the cup, I was like, well, I'm going to be in the playoffs. Yeah. And my team was, I was choosing to stand a chance in the playoffs because I didn't think I could win on the last day. But that team was like predicted to finish 6th. And I think last season was maybe the first season where a lot of my teams had to try and punch above their weight a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I've really enjoyed. Like my team that's now in silver was a team, the Seoul team was like just kind of built around pace. So I picked them up when they were in bronze and they got relegated down to iron. And I was like, this was back in the summer. And I thought, I think it's a trap that a lot of people kind of fall into where you buy a team and then think, I can sustain this team. And then you realize, actually, I was a bit ambitious with like what I need to do to be competitive. But then I've built that team up and they got back-to-back promotions and I got promoted from bronze whilst being predicted to finish 12th that season. So I was predicted to finish bottom and won the league. And It was like a team where I really had it dialed in. It was the first time where I was like, okay, I think I've really got something that works extremely well. And they're struggling a little bit more this year just because 3-5-2 is a bit of a funky formation. And it was
That's why 3-5-2B is the better one,
Well, maybe. But this was a team based around pace, and I think there's a few people who've kind of pioneered this. So like Finn is a manager who did this with a lot of his teams with like crazy pace on a 3-5-2.
That would annihilate me, Finn's 3-5-2 when I played against.
But every single time, I think there's like a point around, I'd say probably gold, like high end silver now, where everyone has pace. So like it no longer ends up being this edge that you have to the same extent. So for like that team, I think they finished kind of close to promotion last year. I think this year is going to be a bit tougher just based on the first few games.
Yeah.
But I'm really enjoying the game, and I've enjoyed competing in the cups more, because when my teams are all predicted to get promotion, I'll be honest, I just use the cup games for some free rotation just to secure promotions. Whereas now it's at a point where every season I'm trying to do well in everything. So like last season, I won a couple of cups and lost a cup final, and I've kind of really enjoyed that. And also the thing I love about MFL is like I run different tactics with most of my teams. Like there'll be a little bit of an overlap, but I have like 4 or 5 formations that I run across my 7 teams.
Mm-hmm.
And like I feel like they're all viable if you've got the right pieces to their kind of the puzzle, I suppose.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have my background in Football Manager, and I've competed at like a very high level competitively in that game. And the reality with that game is the match engine gets updated like when the game releases, like a few months in, maybe twice, but then you're on the same engine for the last 8 months of the game. And so it gets solved and it's a bit boring, and everyone kind of, I guess, converges on the same few tactics, which just inherently isn't very fun. So with MFL, the fact that every season tends to be like a newish challenge, I know there's been a few seasons where there was more minor changes. I really enjoy that. I think when I came on before, I was discussing how I really like to try and counter pick people's teams and like have like alternative formations. And to be honest, I've moved a little bit away from that now, just because I think the amount of effort you have to put into squad building and then also rotating whilst planning for formations you want to use against different people is just a bit of an impossibility. Like with some of my teams, I was running like 6 or 7 formations. But like that's a lot of time and effort to like be able to do that. So with most of my teams now, with the exception, ironically, of the teams that only have false nines, like there's 3 or 4 formations I can run with the team, but kind of one that I'll use as the primary one and like one as the plan B.
Yeah. Would you say you're playing MFL more seriously now or more casually? Or depends on which team it is that you're managing.
Yeah, I think there's some teams where I just kind of view them as fun experiments. So like I have my Chiba Shibas, which has always been a bit of a meme team, where I've got, it's like a really rounded off squad. Like there's too many players, they play too many positions, but I'm basically just using it as a chance to just figure out what might or might not work in the engine. And they're kind of nice as a baseline team that just sit in iron, because they're kind of between all my higher end teams and all my lower end teams. So like they kind of work as an interesting midpoint. They are a team that is wedded to the idea of using wingers, which isn't necessarily the most fun thing in the engine right now. So their primary thing is a 4-2-4.
Yeah.
But they're also like this weird home for some leftover centre forward. So I'm now experimenting with the 4-3-2-1 on them, because I've just got centre forwards that won't get game time otherwise.
I've never tried. That's the lot of the Christmas tree looking formations, wasn't it? People call it, because it gets progressively
it's
smaller
weird. Like I think I do. I feel like I took it seriously before, but it was like a different level of competitiveness, because I feel like as you put a bit more money into the game and as you climb up the leagues, like you start to think, oh, actually, there is a bit more of an investment involved that means I want to do well, which I really love. I think for some people, it might put them off the game a little bit. Like they might be like, actually, I'm not really enjoying this anymore, because like this, you know, I feel like the stakes are too high kind of thing. It's no longer a bit of fun, but I'm still very much at that level of, I just really, really enjoy the challenge, and also the management side of things. Like I think the game's really, really good. Like I won't say I love the engine currently. I think some people think it's a massive step forward. For me, I think it's just different.
Yeah,
I think we've moved on with like different quirks to the engine compared to like last season. And maybe the quirks last season benefited me more now. And whilst I know some of the quirks this season, I can't take advantage of them in the same way, which makes things tricky.
Do you think when people say, "Oh, bring back Season 8 engine," is that the equivalent of when FM players go, "Oh, I'm going to play FM 24"? You know, I prefer that game. Is that the equivalent?
I think there's a legitimate argument to play FM 24 at the moment, but that's a whole other thing aside.
I don't want to open that kind of worms at this point.
No, I enjoy it. I think in the current engine, crossing is really, really strong. And also just the big switches from left backs and right backs. Like there's big diagonal passes that happen in the engine that I don't think you can do a lot to stop.
Yeah.
I think for me, the best counter I found to them isn't to try and prevent them happening. It's to try and prevent the crosses, because I don't think you can. And the big switches, you can't get tight enough to stop those balls happening.
Yeah.
It's mostly about trying to crowd out the middle and try and get the interception. I think it's like the first season in a while where I'm looking at more compact, like defensive shapes, as opposed to like really balanced or a bit wider.
And even if you try and, like I said, try and go and close down those fullbacks from the big switches, you often find this, in my eyes, quite, very unrealistic scenario where the fullback receives it and he's facing with his back to his winger, the opposite winger, and he just ball comes to him and straight away it's bang. And I'm like, right, show me that in 3D.
Like I see the formation charts, and I don't put too much stock into the formation charts. Like I love what MFL Coach and some of the other fan site projects do, but I feel like with some of them, like the fact you can't filter by like at what point in like what level the games are being played at is a big detriment.
Just a 20.
I see that, I think, as well with my teams from gold all the way down to like Spark. It's a completely different game down at Spark in terms of what works and what doesn't work, which I like. I like the fact there's a bit of a not one size fits all approach. But I think you can look at some of those charts and just see where a lot of the formations that use wingers are. Like I think 4-2-4 is the best performing winger formation, and then most of the winger formations are struggling, whereas there's a real prevalence of formations that use left mids and right mids. And I think it's because they have a bit more space because they start deeper, whereas wingers start on the shoulders of defenders just inherently. And then also it means that they have a little bit more space when they arrive late at the far post. Like there's a lot. Last year I saw a lot of complaints with the match engine about its defenders not really following the play or reading the play, and they're just a bit static, and the AI wasn't very good. Whereas I think now sometimes the AI it looks like it reads the play well, but it doesn't really matter how close the defender is to the attacker on a cross or a ball across. Like the striker's still going to get it and just ping it in first time. And the thing is, I enjoy talking about this stuff, but I think that comes from my background in like playing competitive Football Manager, and I like to kind of dissect the engine. Mm-hmm. I think some people want to view any football engine in any football game as like this perfect simulation of football, which it isn't going to be, sadly. And for me, I kind of always approach it as a game. Like I used to work in QA in video games on Football Manager for a period, so I guess I view things through a different lens.
Yeah.
I do find when I see people complain about like match engines and stuff, like I think some of it is down to like an inability to adapt. Like there's definitely quirks in this engine that I can't really work around. I don't think, just from my own experimentation, but I kind of like that. I think one of the biggest travesties with MFL is people don't like to discuss their tactics because it's almost like their intellectual property for the season.
They want to gatekeep them, or if they're performing well and they don't particularly want to. Some people are open and honest and will say, my tactics aren't working very well. I don't want to have a thoughts on it, but they don't want to open themselves out for people to go, oh, why the hell are you running that setup in this engine? How do you not know this X, Y,
I see
Z?
a lot of bad advice out there. I think a lot of people think, and you see this with Football Manager as well, people think that the way that they play the game and are achieving success is the only way to play the game and achieve success. And so if you're not playing the same formation as them or the exact same instructions, like you're kind of doing it wrong. I kind of mentioned earlier, I win a lot of cups. Like it's one of the reasons why I asked for the pinned trophy thing, and I actually put a lot of stock in trophies and cups, which I didn't really in like seasons prior. Like I think that's something in the last few years where I feel like that's almost a better gauge of your understanding of the game, because ultimately not everyone is going to have the money to compete at like a silver or gold level, never mind diamond. And for some people, they just enjoy managing at Spark and having that competitive experience and scratching that itch. But yeah, like I said, I think I really enjoy the game. Like, there's a reason I have teams at all different levels as well. I'm sure there's some people who think, well, why would you have 7 teams? Like have a Spark team and like have a Stone team. But actually, I kind of enjoy the variety that every level offers. Like, I think there's something quite fun about having some teams that are maybe limited by their means. Like my gold team is stretched thin. Like I give up more than 50% rev share every season, but I can be kind of competitive with them. Whereas with my lower end teams, I like to just own all the players.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's the great thing about MFL is there's not really a right or wrong way to play the game. And I think in a weird way, often the way I play the game is I kind of play it how a lot of people would play the game individually. Like some people would play at the low end, some people play at the high end, and I'm kind of that obsessive who's like, I want 7 teams.
Yeah.
I'm never going to hit like the 83 teams of certain unnamed individuals, but like I think I've now like found a level where it's kind of like my peak enjoyment, which it took a few seasons to find.
Yeah. Do you approach the engine, going on to the engine, do you approach the engine in a similar way to how you've done it throughout your FM career? Or do you sort of understand the quirks or the variance that occurs within the MFL engine and sort of, analyze it and approach it differently?
I think there's definitely an element of that. I think one of the biggest mistakes I see people approach most football, this applies to any sports game actually, they kind of focus on too much on how the ball crossed the line rather than how it got to the situation where the ball crossed the line. So you'll see a lot of people go, oh, my defender didn't track that striker properly. But it's like, okay, well, where was the midfield for the pass that got to the striker and stuff? And I feel like that in MFL is actually a really good way to try and solve problems, because I think, I mean, look, simulating real world football is fucking impossible. There's no game that does it well. Football Manager claim to have the best sim in the world, but actually, like, even that has its flaws. And it's like, I don't think there's any instructions you can give to a defender that's going to make them the world's most intelligent defender that reads the game flawlessly. So actually the best way to try and overcome that in MFL is to kind of figure out the passes that lead to that moment that can be perceived maybe as frustrating.
Yeah.
But I think that applies to any game. Like if you're somebody like likes EAFC, then people get too fixated on how the ball crossed the line and how the striker did it, whereas actually it's like you probably messed up way earlier in play.
Yeah, I know some things that, you know, I think they mentioned it on Yorkshire TNXP last week, and I know that Taggard's a big advocate of this. When it comes to testing, is simply just watching your games. And when you said there's different ways of people testing, I thought you were going to say this, where some people focus too much on the stats rather than the watching.
Yeah, there's certain stats like people like stuff like possession, and the XG stat is. I hate people who use XG so much. I hate it in Football Manager, I hate it in real life, because I feel like stuff like XG doesn't account for disallowed goals. Like if a goal's disallowed, you could have created a golden opportunity. It's a really marginal chance. It's a 0 XG.
Yeah.
If you put a cross into the box, you have a free man at the back post, but he misses it and it just goes out for a throw in. 0 XG, even though he maybe could have gotten the end of it another day.
Yeah.
And people go, I had an XG of 2. I've had 20 shots. They've had 5 shots of an XG of 1. It's like, well, yeah, they've had 5 really good, higher quality chances. You've had 20 like low quality chances, and like, don't get me wrong, you will win games playing it, things like that, and having stats go that way, but you're never going to get consistency if you're expecting that play in that way.
Yeah, I find like in MFL, like in real life, the eye test is sometimes a lot better than the
It can make me more frustrated sometimes when you see, if you've never watched a game in full, you'll see stuff that you've never seen before. You think, what's he doing there? And that kind of thing. But at the same time, I think if you exclusively watch highlights, like you can get a kind of good understanding in terms of you can sometimes address the root causes of how you're conceding goals. But especially if you're struggling to score goals, I think that's when watching kind of games more in full can be a benefit.
Yeah, I've always liked to compare the highlights of MFL as the highlights to just like a Premier League game on Sky Sports on YouTube. Like you're seeing, obviously, the highlights we watch of our games are longer than 3-4 minutes, or however short or long they Sky Sports or EFL, whatever, post them. But you are seeing the best moments of your team or their team and the worst moments of either team in small 15, 20-second snippets. And if you watch the 2-1. I'm trying to think of a game, maybe like Ronan's Meta Mercenaries, for example, when they lost one to Hamburg Harmony. You could give them the highlight reel, and you look at the stats and go, they should have scored, annihilated them. But you maybe could watch the highlights and you can see, actually, with the context of the eye tests, maybe all the chances
and
created
also,
were actually poor. And
context matters, right? Like people ignore this a lot, especially now that we have tactical changes mid-game. Like in that case where Ronan's team got, some people would call it like football managered, is like the phrase that you see thrown around in the circles that I can throw, where it's like they scored with their first shot of the game and then just defended for the rest of it and had like this really high XG that wasn't converted. But actually in real life, if you're a massive underdog and you get a goal inside 3 minutes, of course then you change your approach to the next 87 minutes. You are going to be more defensive, more risk averse, because you don't need to get that other goal.
And I've not looked at the match to see what Ronan's sort of setup was, and if he made any tactical changes. But maybe he made no match plans throughout that. But could Ronan then to potentially improve next time? Go, well, I'm playing a crazy underdog here and I'm the heavy favourite. Should I have a match plan that says if I'm down 1-0 within 45 minutes, 60 minutes, I have to go all out attacking? But the chances are, if I do that, I'm probably still going to be dominant and won't concede a second, but I've got a better chance of getting an equaliser.
So I do wish with MFL we had slightly more extremes of like a very defensive and a very attacking, because I think having defensive balanced attacking is a bit granular. I know there's a lot of people
all
who
out attack, park the bus.
There's some people who set up with more offensive right from the off, or have it on certain players. And for those people, it's like, well, I don't really have the tactical tools other than maybe going more direct if I'm not going more direct, or just telling my players to press more and be more aggressive to actually really go for it to that next level.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be rude not to speak about content, because you are a full-time content creator. I have seen recently some of the end of your streams.
I was sliding into some MFL.
Yeah, you're sliding into MFL. I guess say what brought on the slide in the MFL content. If you did have what was your YouTube? What was the YouTube channel which got one video on it? Was it Work
the MFL? I think
Work the MFL.
I can't remember it.
Work the MFL. Do you know what? Bugger it. This week's hashtag Work the MFL. There we go, folks. Get it plastered all over the Discord and X and socials. Hashtag Work the MFL. Yeah, you've been streaming it more recently towards the end.
So I'm teaming up with the MFL guys to do some sponsored stuff, which is fun.
Nice.
In terms of like that channel, so I did the one video on it, and the thing that I really realized is when it comes to my Football Manager content, I have this like daily upload every weekday kind of vibe. I was never gonna be able to bring that to the MFL stuff.
Yeah.
And MFL, I was really struggling to figure out like what content to do. Because especially if you've got an agency of like 500 players and 7 teams, if you're doing like weekly updates on your agency, people can't really follow like all the narrative threads. Like, I think MFL's biggest strength as a game is the fact that it takes 6 weeks of real life time. But I think its biggest weakness from a content point of view is it takes 6 weeks of real life time.
You spending 3-4 days editing a video or however long it takes, even if it's the next day. This podcast, for example, our thoughts or our moments of the week and our thoughts on Diamond are completely irrelevant in less than 24 hours time when the next matches have happened. And then that's when should be the new content, and it's that kind of keeping up with it.
And also it's that fact that there's I'll be honest, there's certain stuff that I've set up tactically that I don't want to reveal. And so like covering that stuff in videos, like there's certain instructions on certain positions that I've shown people and they go, why are you running that? Like, that's insane. I'm like, because it works for me, like kind of thing. And it is like, it's that the biggest blessing and biggest curse. There's part of me that wishes I didn't have so many teams and like have, so many players, and so I wasn't quite as invested in the game, because then I think I would be like, oh fuck it, I'll just be more transparent and say everything that I'm doing. And but I'm also it's just like almost like a silly disadvantage to put yourself in. Like, I kind of wish there was more tactical chat around MFL, and there's part of me that's toyed with the idea of actually what I do is I do videos on the season after it's finished.
Yeah,
like I kind of do a thing where I record all the tactical changes I make that season and how I'm thinking after certain game weeks. And then at the end of the season, I drop it as like this big drop. But I think it's tricky as well with like the world of algorithms and stuff. Like if you're only dropping a video like once a month or once a season, or even like, once every 2 weeks, how many people are actually getting served that in their recommended and stuff? Like, it's that really tricky thing.
And if you were to say drop that at the end of the season and people look at your tactical insights, and then 7 days later, the new engine that's confirmed and locked in is seen to be completely different than
what relevancy does it? Like, I'd like to think there's maybe some of the stuff we talked about earlier where like people go, oh, maybe I could like think about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like these guiding principles, like I keep saying it. So for people who don't know, just in case there's new listeners, I play the video game Football Manager. Like, that's been my job for 10 years. I've played at like major esports events, like a global level. And with that game, like there's a bit more transparency around it all, and kind of, people were more collaborative. But actually, when it comes to like figuring out tactics, I think there's like principles you can apply no matter what the match engine is like. And I kind of feel like it's similar with MFL. And so with all my content where I do guides, I'm really hesitant to ever go, here is the best tactic that you could use. You see a lot with like EAFC content where it's like, here's the pro meta tactics. It's like, actually, I'd rather be like, here's what people are doing, or here's what I'm doing. This is why I think it works.
Yeah.
And then it's not to say, put this in your team, these instructions, and it's guaranteed to work. But like, give it a think and like approach things from a different angle. I definitely feel like with MFL, And maybe I'm just not in the right circles for it. I feel like actually if people talked more about their tactics and ideas and what they're doing, I think it'd be a net benefit for all those people kind of within those smaller networks. Like I have certain managers who I talk to about tactic stuff. So I get kind of a read from them on what they're thinking, and they'll play my teams and we'll spot stuff. I think that's a massive benefit, and I think more people should do that. Like it's the thing that I love about MFL the most is I was going to say the community like side of things, but actually I don't feel like I'm always super ingrained in the wider community. But I have certain managers who I've loaned players to over the years. I've played their teams over years, and I feel like I've kind of earned their respect in a weird way, and like, you know, have that mutual understanding. And so I can reach out to those people and just be like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you doing? And then feedback on, you know, maybe what I'm using that's different to theirs. And if there's certain people who play me and go, what the hell are you doing with your bronze team that makes them so good? I'm like, oh, here's the instructions that I'm running on certain things. That for me is why I enjoy playing MFL. I love that side of it. And also just like in pre-season, like when you've got 500 players, I love my Discord DMs being like hundreds of messages of people being like, what's your plan with this guy? Because that for me makes me feel like more like a football manager than any other video game ever has. Like kind of that,
the agents
actual
coming into
personal kind of messaging and kind of building up rapport with people as well.
Yeah. To reverse back to your tactics bit there, I know one the two I'll go now. The guys at the Ramble, I know in their Discord they've got people who will talk about tactics, and I wouldn't say they openly share them. I think there's Dave and a few other small guys there. They talk amongst themselves about it, and then if you know on sometimes the streams in the Discord, but obviously the Yorkshire TNXP boys, they have a great piece of their tactics corner, and now they're at a point where they analyze particular formations each week and suggest their thoughts, on what to say, like the template setup for it as such, or to build on. But also they've done it for a while now, and where someone will they ask people each week, who wants their tactics almost being looked at, and someone goes,
like
I've got this club. Basically I've got this club, albeit now we are 4 match days in. So if people are there going, my season's a catastrophe.
I might be my gold team at this point.
Yeah. And they'll sort of, you send like a picture or whatever in their Discord of like, here's my team, here's the tactics, and they'll look at it and then suggest sort of like changes. But obviously with the thing of club delegation now, is that technically one of them could go into your team and actually make changes and then can come back out again, which I think is really smart, and I think is actually a really great way to sort of like help with tactics. And maybe they could do that, and the person can actually go
like with tactics. I'm like Buddy the Elf, when he's in the elevator, like smashing all the buttons in the film Elf. That's me, like during pre-season, and when it's like, why doesn't anything work?
Yeah. When you're doing your pre-season, do you have a routine that you do to figure out the engine basis?
I tend to save out like lots of formations like throughout the previous season, and I'll often go with my most used one as like the base.
Yeah.
And what I tend to do is I'll run it with all the instructions active, and then I'll turn off all the player instructions and run it again. And then I will start to hone in on which ones I think aren't or are still working, and like where the numbers have changed. I'll look at like, how our fullbacks crossing more successfully in the new engine versus the last engine, like as an example. And I'll kind of try and figure out a baseline where I can do a statistical analysis of the same tactic in both engines. Because I do that across all my teams that tend to play lots of different ways, I get kind of a good overarching feel for what stuff might need to change and what stuff might not need to change.
Yeah.
I know there are certain managers who throughout pre-season basically would just remove all the instructions, start again like 3 or 4 times, whereas I'm definitely more of a iterator. I kind of wish that there was a way that after matches have been played, you could like save out the tactic that was used for that match, because there's definitely times in pre-season where I'm iterating on the tactic and I'll have like 6 tabs of the same team's tactics open where I've been flicking through it, and I look back through like maybe 30 friendlies. It's like, fuck, I can't remember which tactics I used for which ones. And then I'll be like, okay, that was the sequence of games where I think I landed wasn't quite good.
Yeah.
And so then I have to go into like match reports and tactics, and I'm kind of having to copy the instructions across.
Yeah.
It's something I've flagged with the team before. I'd love to have a system whereby, based on tactical instructions for both your team and player, you basically are given a code, like just a string of code that you can share with other managers to import in a certain tactic. Because I think that would make like sharing tactics, but also just copying tactics from past matches into your tactics screen, like I guess a little bit easier.
And that goes to helping what you were saying earlier about maybe the community should be a bit more open about sharing tactics and having that chat with each other, not necessarily divulging their full setup, but being more, chatting about it, where someone go, right, here's a tactic I've got, someone's struggling with, try this out, and then bang, here's my little, not create a code, whatever, but here's the little Minecraft world seed,
just
try that in and import it and see if that runs, and it it takes a copy and copy pasta job, and then someone could run with it. It makes
I mean, like last
easy.
season, I would have loved to have done a video just deep diving on my tactic that won the Elite Cup Tier 2, because I thought it was actually quite a fun, very unique. There was a few like very odd, unique stuff that was running on that team, but there's like not really an easy way to share it or review it. But also there's that fear of how much is the engine change? Like, do you want to just keep what was working before, like close to your chest?
I think
there's a middle ground to be found with it all.
Yeah, were you a fan of when they had season 9 and season 10 as the same engine and they kept the same engine for 2 seasons?
I think I was, because I felt like I had a really good read on it. I don't think, for me personally, I think there's certain times where engines have like severe flaws, or like major issues, and I think last season had some issues. I wonder if last season they wanted to keep it the same, but like I think this season they will look at the performances of formations and think, actually, maybe we went too far the other way, or there's certain things that have changed it, or I think there's a lot of unintended knock-on effects. Actually, I think that happens with any kind of sports engine simulation. Like, I remember when I worked in QA at Football Manager, there was a mug that was like the old "one does not simply," and it was like "fix the match engine" was the like meme on the mug. And it's kind of that joke where I remember there was one Football Manager engine where crosses would hit the crossbar all the time. It's like your defender would put in a cross and it would just skim the top of the crossbar and go over. Like, I'd say half the time a cross would hit the crossbar. And so it was like, okay, well, we can't have that happening, so we need to do some parameter changes on crosses. But it then led to crosses just not working at all, where like the crosses were always overhit instead.
Yeah.
And so there is that balance in that, where I think you can spot a flaw in the engine and think, okay, we've changed some stuff to try and like fix that. Or sometimes it's like we just want to improve the AI. But like, so the big one is like, if you improve the defensive AI and make defenders' position better, the number of goals goes down. But there has to be a way to get that number back up or compensate for it. We kind of see that with cards, right? Like the example I'd give is cards last year. Like, I'm someone who likes to run aggressive, but last season you just couldn't run aggressive.
You got shot to pieces for doing that.
And I know that we always get that mid-season report where it's like, the number of yellow cards, the number of red cards at different divisions. So there's clearly like these baselines that the MFL guys work to. And it's that thing where when you're trying to improve the engine, but also match those baseline levels of what, like, expected numbers, like you're never going to get it all right. In my mindset, I don't think there'd be anything wrong with keeping the same engine for multiple, I'd say 2 seasons. I think 3 seasons and it gets a bit too long. I would love a year where we keep the engine between seasons, but maybe add in a few more formations or add in some variations to existing formations that are a bit more forgiving in terms of positions. Like the example I give is I feel like the 4-4-1-1, like the fact that needs a centre forward and not a centre attacking mid.
Yeah. Should be able to be more fluid with it.
I'd love to see like a 4-3-3 with 2 CDMs and a centre attacking mid and no centre mids.
Yeah. That's like, those 2 formations, especially that 4-3-3 variation, are ones that people have been not requesting, I'm going to say demanding.
I feel like stuff like that would just be, I don't think that would be like an unhealthy like thing for the game.
Yeah,
it's weird. I've never put too much stock in the formation balancing before this year, but I think actually if you look at the formation kind of data for this season, you can kind of see the trends of where wingers are struggling and wide midfielders are just really prevalent amongst the best performing formations. Yeah, it's a really, really interesting discussion. Like, I empathize with the match engine team because I don't think they're ever going to please everyone.
Yeah,
I kind of have this mindset of, for the last few seasons, I think I've benefited from it maybe being better suited to players in my agency, and as a result of that, I maybe stocked up on wingers. I think I spent $400 on 2 wingers, like who are like high end legendaries for my Tokyo team, and then this season, like wingers don't feel as good, so it's like that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But I think you kind of know what you're signing up for. I do wonder if there's a world where there'd be a bit more forgivingness for like maybe playing wingers at wide attacking mid. Like, so you play a left winger at left mid, like if they can't defend, there should be that hit with the defending. But sometimes I think the hit is super aggressive, especially if the player can't play that position at all. I feel like it could be more forgiving than it actually is. I don't know if that's a really unpopular take. I just think there's certain positions where a degree more flexibility would be nice. Like I even think stuff like fullbacks to be able to play wingbacks, for example. Or
wingbacks.
No. But and like centre to centre defensive mids. Like if you've got a centre mid who's got low passing, not high passing, low defending, but they can't play centre attacking mid, like you can kind of shoehorn them in, but it does come with a pretty nasty hit. I don't know if that's a really unpopular take. I'd be interested for people to know. I just think offering a bit more versatility across the board would be nice.
Would you be pro being able to learn other positions on cards then? It's sort of like a middle ground to that, where sort of not having that fluidity of being able to drag them in your formation and play positions there.
I think I would. I think, maybe that's the alternative way to solve the same problem. I think it should probably work in a way where if a player only knows one position and they're learning like an adjacent position, they pick it up like at a reasonable pace. But if you're like training, I don't know, a left mid to play as a striker, but they've got like really good shooting and like pace and dribbling, but no passing or defending, like they should be able to pick it up as like a second position, but maybe it comes at the cost of it takes half a season to learn it and they don't get any development in that time.
Yeah, some big opportunity.
But I think that has to be a trade-off somewhere where you sacrifice overall, because it's something that Football Manager does really well. Is Football Manager basically does a similar thing to MFL, where there's like a weighting towards a player's overall rating, and the game has like an under the hood value between 0 and 200 for a player's ability.
Mm-hmm.
And for a defender, something like marking or tackling eats up more of that number because it's weighted more highly. But if a player could play centre back and striker, they could have the same like overall between 0 and 200, but because they maybe have the same level of shooting, but because they have the position that's relative to the shooting, that is weighted highly on them as well.
Yeah.
So you get more like utility men, like generalists, as opposed to absolute specialists. Like, I think it's one of those things that has to be done sensibly. But I think I wouldn't want to see a world where like you can just train anyone without any cost. And I think if a player already knows two positions, it should take longer for them to learn a third.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be in a world where players can like learn a completely different formation. But like I feel like a right mid learning to play left mid probably shouldn't be the most unreasonable thing in the world if they can only play right mid kind of thing.
Yeah, because I hate to use IRL as an example because sometimes you have to sort of lose that because MFL is its own, and you can't always use the IRL excuse or in reasoning. But yeah, in a game, you don't see it actually happen much in football these days. But it used to be, 10 years ago, wingers and wide mids was always just like swapping the halves and to confuse the fullbacks and all this sort of stuff. You don't see that moment. Maybe that's some utter woke nonsense going on and green brick wall that people don't like swapping wingers anymore. But yeah, it shouldn't be too hard to learn a new position. I like what your thought there about if they want to learn a tertiary position, it's a bit more difficult than learning a secondary, and you can't go free, willy-nilly with it, to use a I mean,
look, there should be a world where if you have a Gareth Bale, a left back who has crazy pace and great shooting and is defensively questionable, you go, actually, I want him to be a striker and he's young enough. Like maybe age should play a factor as well.
Yeah,
I know people might argue that younger players already have a load of upsides in MFL, but I do feel like, I think there's a world where positional retraining probably could be in the game. I'm not going to say it should be in the game, but I think there is an underlying issue sometimes where the engine changes radically and some positions feel like they become a little obsolete or certainly disadvantageous to use. And I think there needs to be a solution there. And it's a case of, do you do that through positional retraining, or do you do that through just a bit more flexibility when it comes to the formation side of the game?
Yeah. What about then, before I move on to some quick fire round questions for you, what about sort of like developing extra stats for each of the players? Like goalkeepers obviously just have the overall right now. We'd like to see a bit more depth.
So
to
it's
that.
something
Would you like it how it is?
I would like to see, but I don't know how you do it well. And the reason that I think you open a bit of a Pandora's box in the sense that you might have right now on a goalie, you have the overall of a goalie and that's it. And actually, I think you could have stuff like reflexes, handling, one-on-ones, distribution. I think would be a great one. Maybe communication with the defense, and like those could be the 6 things that for a goalie. But if we end up in a world where reflexes ends up being really important, and maybe one-on-ones is perceived to be less important, and you've got all these already minted players, and some of them just get, really
absolutely
high values in the bad stuff and low values in the good stuff, like people might feel burned by that.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those tricky things, because I feel like it should happen at some point, and I think maybe in the white paper it even says that will happen.
Yeah.
There's some bits of the white paper that haven't changed in a long time. It's tricky, right? Because I think we talked about it a bit earlier. I really hate the fact that right mids, left mids, and centre mids, like pace doesn't factor up into their overall. Like, I mean, I think maybe I'm wrong. I feel like if I came into the game and looked at the game as it is now, I'd be like, and I was the guys over at MFL would be like, maybe we need to make it so pace factors into overall more on these positions. But then you can't do that in retrospect easily, even though actually the only value that would be changing is the overall on players.
Yeah.
Like the pace isn't moving. But then it's like, how do you do that? Is it a case of you tell everyone, hey, in 5 seasons, these are the changes we're going to make? Like, do you just give people a massive heads up?
Yeah.
Do you just drop on people, go, deal with it? Sorry, it's the game. I think for me, it's that thing where the long-term benefit of a bit more nuanced, like individual attributes would be nice. But if we end up in a world where, say, pace got split up into agility, pace, and acceleration as like the 3 things that contribute, and maybe agility is perceived to be obsolete, and then you get a player who has 99 agility and then 60 in the other 2, and he has 70 pace.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's going to be a fallout from that, and it's a case of, is the blowback from that worth it?
Yeah.
Equally, I think there are some people in MFL who do play the game hyper casually and probably don't care about pace or individual attributes and just look at the overalls.
Yeah.
But I think for the more invested player, it's going to be a bigger point of contention. I don't really know what the right or wrong answer is for that, because I think it would be a long-term benefit for the game to have like more variables feed into the match engine. But I don't know. Do you have a thought on it? I mean, I feel like I'm just kind of verbal diarrhea.
I'm kind of the same opinion where I think I'd really like to see that breakdown of adding additional stats and attributes to players. Do you call them stats or attributes? There we go. There's a question for you.
So in Football Manager, I call them attributes, or I call them attributes, because
attributes.
I know, I'm American. Apparently, the attributes. The reason I like to call them that is because stats are match stats. So I think it's a nice differentiator between the stats for goals per. If you go, he's got really good stats, it's like, oh, I know you mean, he's performing well in matches.
Yeah.
Whereas if you say he's got really good attributes, it's like, oh, like he's a good player.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the split we have in the world of Football Manager. But lots of new people who come to the game will call them stats, and it's viewed as this cardinal sin. Yeah. I'd kind of like that to bleed into MFL, but I think I've arrived too late to try and enforce my way of thinking on the world. Even though I think it makes perfect sense when you kind of want to know what people are talking about.
Yeah, no, I see where you come from.
And in game, they're labeled as attributes as well. Like when you go on your player is in your agencies, they're not called stats. So maybe I'm right all along.
Attributes.
Oh no, please no. That's worse than just calling them stats.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's either one or the other. But yeah, I think, and I know that either Mathurin said before, when if they do big changes, it shouldn't impact the current player base negatively. So, for example, what's probably the I guess the most recent one, and probably the only one really I could think about, and sort of since we've been in season 1, is the increase in average age of players in packs and the decrease in the average retirement. It was, it sort of got like an off season for it to be announced, or half a season, and the mid season we're going to make these changes for season 5 from that transition from season 4. But actually, the players you own currently now not impacted by that.
Yeah, I was going to say it's nice, isn't it? Because it'd be like if they were to say, "Hey, height now matters for goalies way more."
Yeah,
I'm looking at my agency now. I've got a 5'9" goalie who's 90 rated and 26, and if they would turn around and go, "We're making height a really big factor," I would get burnt really bad by that.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can't make. I don't think you can make that such a drastic change that impacts the current player base.
It's so tricky, isn't it? Because I think there's probably a few things like that in retrospect, the guys over at MFL would look at and go,
would love to, yeah.
And it's a case of, is there a way we could do something like? Do you have it where you, I don't know, basically set a minimum baseline for pre-minted players, or like everyone who's below 6 foot becomes 6 foot, and then it's like, well, why would you pick 6 foot as that benchmark? Like, there's just not a good way. I think no matter what you do, like, you're gonna negatively affect someone.
Yeah, I don't know from like the adding extra stats point of view how you would do that, but maybe, I don't know if this even work. I'm just saying things out loud, but you know how the 0% percentage or 0% of pace contributes to, you know, your left mid, right mid, centre mid. Could it be that, you know, like you said, they announce in 6 seasons time we're going to rejig how particular percentages are for maybe like one position or a couple positions, but actually the players who are currently a centre mid, but this, you know, now I'm speaking out loud, I'm seeing my flaw straight away, but it's like the players who are minted prior to the change still have that, their current,
the old weighting system.
So a bit, maybe, no, I'll think about this more. Like when I was at uni and COVID hit, there was a net and my overall could not go, my grade could not go lower than it was pre-COVID. So maybe, you know, if because of these changes to the, you know, the matrix of an overall get changed for a left mid, right mid, centre mid, if your overall of your now player would drop below their current, doesn't happen. But if they were to gain, they gain. But if you announce it far enough in advance, maybe you could get around that. But I don't think you could say, by the way, guys, you know, pace now matters 25% for centres.
I think you'd have to do it in. I think the thing is, theoretically, if it's only the overall that changes, you could just have it where the old weighting applies to the existing players and like have like a little asterisk on that overall. And for the newer players, the overall. Yeah, then it starts to get a bit messy. My thought on it really is the fact that we're about to have mass retirements for like the first time. Like the number of players in the game is going to drop like crazily. So if you are going to want to do some radical changes, you've basically got like the next 3 seasons to come up with a plan and implement it. Because I think if you miss the boat and people start to replenish their agencies and then you do it, that is going to be a bigger negative effect. Like we're seeing, you know, the number of drop packs dropping as well.
Yeah.
Like we've got a lower supply right now that is going to have to probably ramp up at some point in the future.
Yeah.
And you've kind of got to, if you're going to want to do stuff that's going to shake up the landscape, it's got to happen before that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's so tricky because I think none of us had money tied up in the game and didn't like perceive these players as assets, you kind of go, well, if it makes the game better having more attributes, like it's just a great thing for the game overall. And it's going to add a bit more nuance. I don't know if the thing they could do is they implement it, and for all your current, I'm thinking out loud here, and this is probably a shit idea, but they go, right, we're adding in these new like subcategories. For all your players that are already minted, you can choose how the points are distributed into the categories. And you've got a month that you've got this season to do it.
Yeah.
If you don't do it this season, they will automatically be assigned for all the unassigned players.
Yeah.
So people can go, oh, but then would people just go mentally go, well, I want 99 acceleration and 50 pace? Like there probably has to be some like sensibility. Again, thinking aloud here.
A team full of like specialty players where you've got like 1 pace, 1 shooting, you know, just and then 5.
You're like a striker
formation.
With like no attacking movement, no pace, but they've got like the best composure, best shot power and shot accuracy in the world.
Yeah.
Like I think that in my mind, that is perhaps the only way you can do it, where you kind of have a minimum and maximum value for each category based on the overall of that area. So like if a player has, I don't know, 80 defending, you basically say, look, you can put the defending of standing tackles, sliding tackles, marking between like say 65 and 90.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but like I said, I'm thinking aloud. I've never thought about this before this moment, I'll be honest. I think there's actually something there where maybe that is the only way you can find like a middle ground medium that doesn't burn people completely. But yeah, I would love to know what people think of this if they're watching the pod. Like, I'm sure people have different ideas to us and there's definitely flaws in our logic and stuff, but I would love for it to happen because I think it adds a bit more to the match engine as well. The more variables you can put into the match engine, I guess the argument is the more that can go wrong with the match engine at that point too. But I think it adds a lot to the game. And I think MFL is a game that has a load of depth, like the deeper you go in terms of like the XP rates, in terms of
XP, the expected passion. Come on, yeah. Sorry,
for if you're somebody who loads into the game for the first time and you're coming from other sports games and you view a player and see the fact they've got like 6 values that make up who they are, that can make the game on a surface level seem like it lacks a bit of depth.
Yeah.
And also, I think it would just be, I think it'd be really cool for the game if there was and it adds a bit more personality to players as well.
You look at him and go, cool, he's definitely got, he's definitely, got a good long throw.
Because at the moment, right, like you kind of get
long throw.
It's that thing where you kind of have it's that difference between like a fullback and a wingback. Like maybe that's a more pronounced one where like, a more wingback inclined player has more pace, more dribbling, but maybe isn't as good defensively. But by just having a bit more in the way of values that define who and what a player is, you can kind of have more sub roles.
Yeah.
Like you could have the difference between like a deep line playmaker and a more box to box playmaker, maybe, or an attacking midfielder. Because at the moment, it's like if you have a slow center, a slow creative center mid that has like, really high passing and dribbling, there's always that combo. And then everything else is kind of low. Like in real life, that player could be put in the pigeonhole of, they're a deep line playmaker or they're like a less mobile center attacking mid.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really exist within MFL, and like those two roles are basically
you can do your best individual instructions to make them that sort of player, but actually those instructions in the engine may not be applicable, not even work. So your way of wanting to get the most out of that.
The one I always think of is like player freedom, where you can like tell a player, to like have high positional freedom or low positional freedom. Like there's not really an attribute that determines how good a player is at that. Whereas in real life, like a player's decision making, that off the ball movement,
the scanner,
their vision and their read of the game, and also their mobility, I guess, like falls into pace, but like their ability to get into those like spaces, like that's all stuff that really should have an impact on how good a player's positional freedom is. Like I don't believe we're in a world where any fullback should be able to have high positional freedom and like be amazing. But actually, with how the game is right now, I think outside of really pace and how quickly they can get in and out of position, there's like not a lot else that really feeds into how good they are at roaming from that spot on the pitch.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this isn't the game that people play MFL for. Maybe I'm coming from the background of I like these really technical, highly detailed football management games. But I think with us getting our subs added into the game and match plans and like the tactical instructions, I think there's a few more I would love to see added. Like there is more depth that could be added, I think.
I think there'll definitely be people who would be against that because they love the casual way that you can play MFL should you wish to play. That you can, I think, you said earlier, I think even in your last, your first appearance on the pod, we said, it's great. MFL is great. The fact that you can play it how you want it. There's no set way to play. As long as you have fun and you enjoy playing that way, you can do that. If they have the match plans, I'd love to know, MFL team, if you're listening, watching, the percentage of accounts or users that have used a match plan across, maybe across like one of their clubs, because I still think there's a lot of people who have never actually touched them in competitive
thing, right,
swings.
With match plans, I don't think they're like a crutch thing you have to use.
Yeah, agreed.
But I think substitutes are venturing into that world where, like, if a player's freshness on off the bench is going to be like a really big factor, like if I bring in a striker who's really quick against a tired, slow defense and he's going to be like really effective, that is going to be something that people are forced to engage with if they like, want to do well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how many of those things can you put into the game before people go, actually, this isn't like the game that I was playing 6 months ago that I'm enjoying. Football Manager's gone through that thing where Football Manager was like such a simple game in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And every year they're like, we've added in like X feature or Y feature. And there's people who go, just want to click continue and like play a match like every 5 minutes. And that's just not how it works anymore.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's like, what do you kind of feed into? Like there's so many changes that I think could be really, really cool for MFL.
Well,
off topic of what we have now,
I've got some quick fire round questions for you.
I'm one of the quick fire answers for you, mate, but I'll try.
No, so first one, most underrated division.
Most underrated division, in terms of the people in it, in terms of the difficulty.
choose how you would like to answer that?
Gold 4 is a banger league. I'll say that. Gold 4 is a league full of some very, very fun managers. Like, it was the first league I went into where it's like, I recognize all these people as having teams like much higher up the division than even gold.
Yeah.
I actually think my favorite division to manage in has been bronze over the last few years. I don't know if it's because I have this nostalgic spot for it where I've been promoted out of it 3 times. So I think that is the turning point where you start to notice people I don't want to say take the game more seriously, because I think people take the game seriously at like lots of different levels. But I think there's much fewer easy games. I think even in Iron, there'll always be a few teams that you can rotate against.
Yeah.
Whereas bronze for me, typically, I wouldn't say all the time, is like this league where I think there's a pretty consistent level.
Yeah.
And anyone can beat anyone, which I quite like.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Most overrated. It says tactic. I'll put tactic, but I can let you say formation. Most overrated formation.
Based on, I want to say 4-3-3 false 9, but I don't know how highly rated it was last season. I thought I'd like discovered something really niche there, and then someone was like pointing at the win rates last year. I was like, okay, maybe it wasn't that hipster. I don't know. So the underrated or overrated was the
overrated.
Overrated. I think the 4-3-3 with a centre defensive mid. I know it's been like a very stable formation, and there's a lot of people who use the 4-3-3D, and I don't think it's very good in the current engine. But I also think it was just a steady Eddie formation that if you knew how to play against it, it wasn't too bad to play against.
This is why I love MFL, because one person says this formation is not great in this engine, but you ask another Bob, Joe, and Nathan, and they'll say that 4-3-3D is a tremendous engine. But it's all down to everyone's personal experiences, how they get what they get at, what they squeeze out of that formation. Right, one feature you'd remove.
One feature I'd remove.
The limits on rare packs and pack drops.
Yeah, I think that legendary packs should be 100 MFL each. Bring back legendary packs in the drops.
Oh, do you know what? It'd be tasty. At least we'd guarantee to see Legos on a pack drop day. Then if
just have 3 of them available per drop.
I mean, they used to have like 4 or 5 at one point. That's how many it was.
When we were in Paris, you were telling me about that, and I'd only been playing the game a month, and my mind was blown by this idea that there'd be legendary drop backs. Like, why did I not find out about this game sooner?
Yeah.
The thing I would change or remove, I'm not removing it, but I would
substitution.
I would increase the fatigue regen rate on players flagged. I think it's a bit too brutal on the red flagged players. Like, they get like 1% per game week missed.
Is it really
for their
bad?
Condition recovery? I think it should probably be like 2.
I've only ever used them as literally like they're sticking for one game and they're out for the next 5. I've not used them more extensively.
I think that's something that's going to become more prevalent in the next few years. Actually, I think especially on players that have high physical and are flagged. Like, because I feel like regardless of physical, like they just don't regen at a very good rate at all. And also because physical does play a role into that, like defenders have more utility for longer because they tend to have that higher physical.
Yeah, and you get some strikers and things like that as well. Yeah. One feature you'd fast track.
So something that's already been announced. It has to be the UI. I would love to see the new UI. And obviously, when we were in Paris, they showed us like new player profile UI stuff. I think getting in the new player profiles would be like a really, really good like step forward. I don't hate them as they currently are, but they're just something that I think can be way better. Yeah.
And then my last one is about mass retirements. Do you think the anticipation around mass retirements is overhyped?
No. I think it's going to be interesting, actually, because I don't know. I think we're going to see the number of players in the game world go down a little bit. I think there was maybe an oversupply during the big boom of kind of April last year.
The Nep and Laird boom, which you were part of, which you
Yeah, I was, but it was the Nep and Laird boom.
Yeah. You're saying you were a customer of the boom.
I think it's one of those things where like there was a trajectory the game was on, and I think if you're ever working on a project like MFL, and I'm talking from like my dev background here, you kind of want to ride on that for as much as possible and just assume that it will continue.
I mean, Mathurin opened up.
We actually went from a lack of players. Like I remember when I started the game, I couldn't fill out a team for the Redemption Cup. There wasn't enough free agents. And then we hit a point where there was like drops where like some of the packs just weren't selling out.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be interesting with the mass retirements, like the people who have older agencies that maybe haven't planned for the long term.
Yep, agreed.
And haven't. And I had a look at your agency when you mentioned all your players age 32. Like, it's going to be interesting for you. It's that situation of, how are we going to go about getting the supply to fill all the teams that exist, or is it going to be a case of that a lot of the higher end people just cut a few of their teams down and kind of focus their efforts more? But if they're cutting out some of those lower level teams and then it's new managers who need to get them, like, we are going to see the overall level of every team, I think, on average per tier, like, regress a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I think is healthy for the game, because we've kind of been in this constant upwards kind of trajectory with player overalls. I think it's going to change the game a lot. It's going to be interesting, because I think there will be people who kind of feel a bit put off by it and I think, like, oh, you know, I put all this money into the game and I bought my players and now they, like, hold no value. Like, I know there's speculation, will we get to a world where you can, like, burn retired players or whatever to get some MFL in return? I think that might be necessary, because I think for some people, they're not going to want to buy players with cash to, like, replenish what they're losing. But at the same time, MFL, it's not really a problem they can solve, because they need people to buy those packs to keep the game going. Like, if people want to be able to put in an initial outlay and then just sustain themselves forever, the game at that point entirely relies on new players to be, like, a successful project. And at that point, if you're constantly needing new people to come in, you're only going to be serving what you think a speculative potential new audience needs, which means that the people who are playing the game and have played the game and what they want from it become a secondary priority.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one. I don't think it's overblown at all. I think it's really hard to speculate on exactly what it might lead to. I actually find it quite exciting. Like, I look through like, the MFL projections for all the leagues. I'm like, I've got the youngest team in half these leagues. Like, and so I think it's a net benefit for me. I think that net benefit comes from when I arrived to the game, in terms of I arrived, I think, a couple of weeks after the retirement age was announced to be changing. So I have a lot of players that fall onto that, pre 70,000.
The 37-year-old average retirement age compared to a 35, right? Yeah.
And so, like, I kind of get a bit of a benefit from that. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how it shakes up the game. And I think you'll see people who, you know, take a step back or just decide to downscale a little bit.
I think a lot of people will downscale. That's my
But
thoughts.
I think that could be a benefit. I guess the question then becomes, are we going to end up in a world where there's too many clubs? But actually, I think it's less likely to be that and more likely to be a world where all the commons that you see that just don't find clubs right now do find clubs. But I do feel like
I need a 54 rated for my ice team.
I think that'd be, honestly, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
But I do think it will be interesting to see how it plays out. And I don't envy the task of the MFL guys, because I think there will be not problems that come about, but there will be sentiment shifts that come about and attitudes that people have that are almost impossible to anticipate right now.
Yeah.
And it does fall into that bracket for me where we talked about, you know, could you make major changes to, like, player like stats and how they work? And it's like, would that then be the double whammy of people are getting a bit aggrieved because they feel like their agency is perceived to be getting weaker, even though it's just like the whole power curve of the entire game plateauing? And then you're hitting them with that double whammy of, by the way, like, there's all this extra stuff now, and some of your players, sorry, your goalie's 5'8" is screwed.
The wombo combo. And just hit them twice. So I've got our, penultimate question before we ask you for a question for our next guest. All right, let's get to be interesting. So Bruce was on the episode last week, and he actually asked a pretty I don't know how we even have to word this and describe it.
Question.
A questionable question. A questionable would you rather, which I know the thought of, Bruce could be listening, watching. You're going to go, you better answer it, Jimbo. I
think Bruce should be forced to answer it next time he's on. That's the fairest.
So you can hear him doing the Nigel Farage going, boring. But, Bruce, you have fortunately given me a way out here, a secondary door. You gave me a yellow and a red and a blue pill, but actually there's a green pill, which I can ask another question. We don't have to answer this, albeit he really wants us to. Earlier in the episode, Bruce was talking about his Towel or Town shirt. Towel or Town shirt. And he said, if you ever bring Jack back on, can you please ask him, like, I want to put a player on the back of my shirt Should it be? I'll get the pronunciations right here. Should he get Shvetsov? Yeah,
Correct.
yeah,
You nailed that one.
on the back, or Henry Kumwenda?
I feel like I need to explain for the viewers some context here. So, I play Football Manager, and I took over this team in the 10th division of English football. And I took them all the way to the Premier League, and it was during peak lockdown, so people had nothing to look forward to. There was no real football on. So I kind of provided this source of football. And then the team got a sinkhole on their pitch. So we did some fundraising, and I became the shirt sponsor.
Yeah.
So these two players, Shvetsov is a Russian striker who was signed when I was in League Two, but didn't get a work permit. And so he trained on his own in isolation for 2 years. Until I was in the Championship, and then he was granted a work permit and could play for me, and then he was just the best player on the team already. And then he went on to be like my star player for years, and he became that striker who's like, you end up at the big time in the Premier League, but you just kind of keep him around for the kids. A bit like the Grant Holt.
Okay.
Although maybe more of an Owen Roberts if we're going back a bit further.
Okay, yeah, no,
that might be a bit too niche, but probably not good enough for the level, but like you hold the memories, and he's been there from the beginning. And then Henry Kumwenda is a player who, last time I checked, he's a real person, this one. So the other guy wasn't real.
Yeah, this guy's real.
Henry Kumwenda is a Malawian international in my alternative universe, but he played for Leeds United's academy in 2019. And I signed him for my team, and he played with me through like lots of divisions until I got to the Football League, and then he wasn't good enough anymore.
Yeah.
In real life, he got released by Leeds, went to Hull City, and then he ended up in the US collegiate system. So maybe he's someone listening's local like star town hero for all I know now. But he's not quite lived up to the dizzying heights of Football Manager's projections. But when I simulated into the future, like a new stadium for my team that I owned got built, and it was named after him. It was called the Henry Kumwenda Arena.
Wow.
And I did like the whole meme at the end of Need for Speed, the whole cars on the highway driving different directions. And it was me and Henry Kumwenda in the two cars. And I put it in an episode, but then someone cut it out of context and just tweeted it at him. Now, bear in mind, at the time, he's like a 17-year-old Leeds Academy player, and it's him in a school uniform, like his headshot in game, in one of the cars over Vin Diesel's face, and then me waving at him. So he must be thinking, what is going on here? I think he still follows me on Twitter.
Oh, I love that.
But obviously, he's not lived, like, he's played for a few teams around England, gone to America, not had the career that was forecasted. But I would have Kumwenda's name put on the back of the shirt just because I think it's a better story. And I love the idea that one day, you might just bump into him, and you have got this shirt for a team, but he has no idea. But you can just go, remember the Vin Diesel man?
Yeah.
Remember
just show him the meme.
Fast
Like,
and
there you
Furious.
go. There's your phone. There's the meme. So you reckon Mr. Kumwenda on the back?
They're the schoolboy. He was called the schoolboy because in Football Manager,
that's
like,
what
the
Bruce
players
said. Yeah,
have
schoolboy
faces.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's fan-made packs that add faces to like the non-licensed leagues.
Yeah.
But some of the faces are hilarious. Like off people's LinkedIn's or like their Facebook profile pictures that like get added in. And his is just him in a shirt and tie. So,
Bruce, there you go. Get the schoolboy Henry Kumwenda on the back of your shirt. Now, I'm going to ask a question to our next guest, and I'm going to say, can you make it MFL related, please? Because so we don't have none of this.
That should be a new rule.
Hokey pokey, would you rather? From Bruce, but I think Bruce will allow it that we got that question answered. Which
he's got closure now, hasn't he?
Yeah, we can now move on and never circle back to this event and this question ever again. So Jack, what would your question be to our next guest, whoever that might be?
If you could make one change, no, because you're going to do the whole one change to MFL thing. I know what it. If you could change one thing about the current match engine, what would you change?
Change match engine.
And if they don't say kill the wide midfielder formations, then they're a fraud and get them off the pod. That's the question at the start. Then sets the level of the pod.
Episode 131, sorry it's a short one, guys. It is 4.5 minutes long because they answered the question at the start and we've just ended it and booted them off there. Or it's an hour and a half of me just talking directly to the camera about my thoughts and feelings for the last 3 years of my MFL career. There you go. Brilliant question, Jack. Jack, thank you very much for coming on today's episode.
Talking about this game.
No, it's great to see your passion for it. And for people who don't know your socials and everything like that, I will leave them in the description and the show notes and all that glorious blurb and written stuff that goes beneath videos that no one, some people read, but some people don't read.
I know the stats. I'm a YouTuber. People don't read it.
Mainly about
it's got to be in the top 2 lines. People don't click the show more.
Exactly, the show more. Only if they're trying to figure out how many years ago a video was or something like that. You know, how long ago it was.
Literally did that today.
Did you? Yeah, there we go. I've done it as well. But no, Jack, really appreciate you coming on, sir. Good luck for the rest of season 12.
Fix false nines, please.
Fix false nines.
MFL team.
Let's not make it to season 18 to when you next come on. I would like to try and get you on for a pack drop stream at some point.
Oh, man, I want to be on for a pack drop.
I know you're a little bit of a DJ when it comes to pack drops, so...
So some say DJ, I say... Yeah, DJ's probably the answer. I don't know what else I was going to go for.
Right, let's wrap things up there then, folks. Remember the hashtag #WorkTheMFL, and everyone go onto his YouTube channel and give it a like and a comment, and just comment WenDirk Raid.
MFL content when.
When content for MFL. But #WorkTheMFL. Thank you all so very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you this time next week, episode of the WenDirkCast. Thank you for listening and watching. Bye.